They sold her like livestock to a mountain stranger, and she let them. But what her family mistook for surrender was actually the most dangerous gamble of her life. Before we begin, if you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far Lin Yu's story travels, and if you stay until the end, you'll witness the moment she stops running and becomes the storm itself. Hit that like button, and let's dive in. The carved wooden door felt heavier than it should have. Lin Yu's palm rested against the cool surface, fingers trembling, not from cold, but from the sharp clarity of what was happening on the other side. Laughter. Bright, relieved laughter. She closed her eyes and let the sound wash over her like dirty water. 27 years in this house, and she'd never heard her mother laugh like that. Free. Unburdened. Finally, her mother's voice drifted through the crack in the doorframe. Finally, we can breathe. Lin Yu's hand fell to her side. She should have walked away, should have gone back to her room, packed her few belongings, and prepared for whatever was coming. But she stayed, rooted to the floor like she'd been nailed there, listening to her family celebrate the fact that she was leaving. The mountain rancher. Her father's voice was thick with wine and satisfaction. Kai Ren himself. Do you know what kind of luck that is? A man like that doesn't ask for just anyone. Luck? Her aunt's shrill laugh cut through the air. That's one word for it. I'd call it divine intervention. Getting rid of... Don't. Her mother's voice dropped, but Lin Yu could still hear every word. Don't say it like that. She's still our daughter. A pause, then her aunt again, quieter but no less cutting. Is she, though? A daughter who talks back, who questions everything, who makes us look like fools in front of the entire community. You've done your duty raising her. Now someone else can deal with her. The wine cups clinked. A toast to her departure. Lin Yu turned away from the door. Her legs felt disconnected from her body as she walked down the narrow hallway, past the portraits of ancestors who'd probably be ashamed of her too, past her younger sister's room, where the door was firmly closed. May hadn't even said goodbye. She made it to her own room and shut the door behind her with a soft click that felt like a period at the end of a sentence. The room was small. It had always been small. While May got the larger room with the window facing the garden, Lin Yui had this narrow space that smelled like old wood and dampness. She'd stopped complaining about it years ago. Stopped complaining about most things, actually, because it never changed anything except making her family look at her with that particular expression, the one that said she was the problem. And maybe she was. Lin Yu sat on the edge of her bed and stared at her hands. They were softer than they should be. Privileged hands. Hands that had never known real work, only the tedious embroidery and tea ceremonies that were supposed to make her marriageable. She'd failed at those too. Her embroidery was sloppy, her tea bitter, her conversation too direct. A difficult daughter. That's what they called her when they thought she couldn't hear. Sometimes they said it to her face. The marriage proposal had come 3 weeks ago. Kai Ren. She'd never met him, never even heard his name before the matchmaker arrived with his offer. The matchmaker had been brief, almost apologetic. He's a rancher in the northern frontier, wealthy but isolated. He doesn't come to the city often. He saw you once at the spring market and made inquiries. Lin Yue remembered that market. She'd argued with a merchant who'd tried to overcharge her mother, made a scene. Her mother had been mortified. Apparently Kai Ren had been watching. Her father had accepted the proposal before the matchmaker finished her tea. No discussion, no asking Lin Yue what she wanted, just immediate grateful acceptance, like someone had offered to buy a horse they'd been trying to sell for years. That night, Lin Yu had lain awake and realized something that made her stomach turn. Her family would have accepted any proposal. It didn't matter who the man was, what he did, where he lived, they just wanted her gone. The next morning, she'd made her decision. She would go. Not because she had any romantic notions about Kai Ren or life on a frontier ranch, not because she believed this marriage would be any better than staying here, but because staying meant slow suffocation. It meant watching her family's relief every time she kept her mouth shut, every time she made herself smaller, quieter, less. At least leaving was a choice. Maybe the only real choice she'd ever made. A knock on her door startled her. Lin Yue? Her mother's voice, carefully neutral. May I come in? Yes. The door opened. Her mother stood in the doorway, backlit by the hallway lamp, her face in shadow. She was still beautiful. Everyone said so. elegant, perfect. Everything Lin Yu wasn't. I brought you tea, her mother said, stepping inside with a tray. She set it on the small table by the window and poured 2 cups with practiced grace. We should talk. About what? Lin Yu's voice came out flatter than she intended. Her mother's hand paused mid-pour, just for a second. About your marriage. Your future. My future was decided 3 weeks ago. I don't think there's much to discuss. Lin Yue. Her mother set the teapot down with a soft clink. I know you're angry. I'm not angry. Then what are you? Lin Yue looked at her mother, really looked at her, saw the fine lines around her eyes, the tension in her shoulders, the way her hands gripped the edge of the tray like she was holding onto something that might slip away. Tired, Lin Yue said finally. I'm tired. Her mother's face did something complicated. For a moment, Lin Yue thought she might actually say something real, something honest. But then the moment passed, and her mother's expression smoothed back into that careful neutrality. Kairen is a good man, her mother said. Respected, wealthy, you'll want for nothing. You don't know him. Neither do you. Exactly. Lin Yu stood up. You're sending me to marry a stranger because it's convenient. Don't dress it up as something else. Her mother's jaw tightened. You think you're the only woman who's ever married someone she didn't know? This is how things work. You make the best of it. You adapt. You become someone else, Lin Yue finished. Isn't that what you mean? Become the kind of daughter you actually wanted? The words hung in the air like smoke. Her mother stood abruptly. The teacup rattled on its saucer. I wanted a daughter who understood that sometimes we sacrifice for family, who didn't make everything so difficult. I never asked to be difficult. I just asked to be heard. And look where that got you, her mother's voice cracked, just slightly. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to send my daughter away to the frontier? But you left me no choice. Every day, Lin Yue, every day you pushed and questioned and refused to just… She stopped, pressing her lips together. Refuse to what? Disappear? Be quiet? Stop existing in a way that embarrassed you? Her mother's eyes glistened. You don't understand. No, Lin Yue said quietly. I don't. Her mother left without touching her tea. The wedding was small, perfunctory. Her family dressed in their best clothes and smiled for the few guests who bothered to attend, but the whole thing felt like a business transaction, which Lin Yue supposed it was. Kai Ren came to the city for the ceremony. Lin Yue got her first real look at him across the courtyard, and he wasn't what she expected. He was older than her by at least 10 years, maybe more. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sun-weathered skin and hands that looked like they'd actually worked for a living. His clothes were fine but practical, no unnecessary embroidery or silk. His face was hard to read, not unkind but not warm either, just neutral, like he was assessing livestock. They exchanged vows in front of a small shrine. Her family smiled. His face remained impassive. When it was done, her father clapped Kai Ren on the shoulder and said something about how he was getting a spirited wife. Kai Ren nodded once, his expression unchanged. Spirited, that's what they called her now, a nice word for difficult. The wedding dinner was worse than the ceremony. Lin Yu sat beside her new husband at a table laden with food she couldn't eat. Her stomach was a knot of anxiety and something else she couldn't name. Across from her, Mei picked at her rice, not making eye contact. Her parents laughed too loudly at Kai Ren's few words, desperate to show what a good match this was. You'll visit, won't you? Her mother said at one point, her voice bright and false. The northern frontier isn't so far. Kai Ren took a drink of his wine. It's a 3-day journey by horse. Longer if the weather's bad. The table went quiet. Well, her father said, clearing his throat, Lin Yue will write, of course. Keep us informed of how she's settling in. Kai Ren glanced at Lin Yue. It was the first time he'd really looked at her since the ceremony. His eyes were dark, unreadable. If she wants to, he said. It wasn't much, but it was the first time anyone had suggested that what she wanted mattered. They left the next morning. Lin Yue packed her belongings into a single trunk. Clothes, a few books, nothing sentimental. Her mother stood in the doorway watching, her hands twisted together. Lin Yue, she said when the trunk was closed. Be good to him. Don't Don't make things difficult. Lin Yu turned to face her mother. For a moment, she wanted to say something cutting, something that would hurt the way she'd been hurt. But looking at her mother's face, the worry, the relief, the guilt all mixed together, she felt something shift inside her. "Goodbye, Mother," she said instead. Her mother's face crumpled. "I did my best." "I know. I hope you'll understand someday. When you have your own daughter." Lin Yu picked up her trunk. "Maybe I will." They didn't embrace. Outside, Kai Ren was waiting with 2 horses and a pack mule. He took her trunk without comment and secured it. One of his ranch hands, a weather-beaten man with gray in his beard, helped her onto the smaller horse. "You know how to ride?" Kai Ren asked. "A little." "You'll learn more." Her family gathered in the courtyard to see them off. Her father raised his hand in farewell. Her mother dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. Mei stood behind them, her face blank. Lin Yu looked at them. These people who'd raised her, fed her, housed her, and ultimately couldn't wait to see her leave, and felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a strange, hollow emptiness. Kai Ren mounted his horse. "Ready?" She nodded. They rode through the city gates as the sun climbed higher. Lin Yue didn't look back. The first day of riding was brutal. Lin Yue had ridden before, but only short distances in carefully groomed gardens. This was different. The roads were rough, the pace relentless. By midday, her thighs were screaming, her back ached, and her hands were raw from gripping the reins. Kai Ren didn't slow down, didn't ask if she needed to rest. He just kept riding, his posture easy and relaxed in a way that made Lin Yu's own discomfort feel shameful. The ranch hand, his name was Old Chen, she'd learned, rode beside her for a while. He didn't talk much, but when Lin Yu's horse stumbled on a loose stone, he was there immediately, steadying the animal with a calm hand. "Loosen your grip," he said gruffly. "You're choking the reins. Horse can feel your fear." "I'm not afraid," he grunted. "Your hands say different." Lin Yue looked down at her white-knuckled fists and forced herself to relax. The horse settled almost immediately. "Better," Old Chen said, and rode ahead to join Kai Ren. They stopped at sunset. Kai Ren chose a spot near a small stream, sheltered by rocks. While Old Chen tended to the horses, Kai Ren built a fire with efficient, practiced movements. Lin Yue dismounted and nearly collapsed. Her legs wouldn't hold her. She caught herself on a rock, breathing hard, willing her body to cooperate. "Sit," Kai Ren said without looking at her. "Walking it off makes it worse the first day." She sat. The relief was immediate and humiliating. Old Chen brought her a water skin. She drank gratefully, then watched as the 2 men moved around the camp with the ease of people who'd done this 1,000 times. They didn't need to talk. They just knew what needed to be done and did it. Dinner was rice and dried meat cooked over the fire. Simple food. Lin Yue had eaten plenty of elaborate meals in her life, but nothing had ever tasted better than that plain rice. "We'll reach the first way station tomorrow night," Kai Ren said, staring into the fire. "Rest there. Then 2 more days to the ranch." "What's it like?" Lin Yue asked. "The ranch." He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Different from the city." "That's not an answer." Old Chen coughed, and it might have been a laugh. Kai Ren's eyes flicked to her. "You'll see soon enough. No point describing it." "I'd like to know what I'm going to." "You're going to work," he said bluntly. "Same as everyone else. Ranch doesn't run itself." Lin Yue blinked. "You expect me to work?" "You expected something else?" She had, actually. She'd expected to be installed in a house somewhere, maybe managing servants, hosting the occasional dinner. The kind of thing her mother did. "I don't know how to work on a ranch," she said. "You'll learn." "What if I can't?" Kai Ren shrugged. "Then you'll fail." "But everyone fails at first. Question is whether you quit or keep trying." Old Chen threw another log on the fire, sending sparks spiraling into the dark. "Boss is hard but fair," he said to Lin Yue. "Doesn't ask anything of you he wouldn't do himself. You pull your weight, you'll earn respect. You don't—" He shrugged. "I don't what?" "Then you'll be miserable." He said it matter-of-factly, like he was commenting on the weather. Kai Ren stood. "Get some sleep. Long day tomorrow." He moved to the other side of the fire and lay down on his bedroll, his back to her. Old Chen did the same. Lin Yue sat there for a while longer, staring into the flames, her body aching and her mind racing. This was it. This was her new life. No servants, no comfort, no familiar routines. Just work and horses, and a man who spoke maybe 20 words a day. She lay down on the bedroll old Chen had prepared for her. The ground was hard, the night cold. Above her, stars filled the sky in a way she'd never seen in the city. Thousands of them, brilliant and indifferent. Lin Yu closed her eyes and made herself a promise. She wouldn't quit. Whatever this new life demanded, she would meet it. Not for Kai Ren, not for her family, for herself. Because if she was going to survive this, she needed to become someone new, someone stronger. The second day was worse than the first. Lin Yue woke before dawn to old Chen kicking dirt over the fire. Every muscle in her body screamed in protest as she sat up. Kai Ren was already loading the horses, his movements quick and sure in the gray pre-dawn light. "Eat," old Chen said, handing her a rice ball wrapped in leaves. "We leave when the sun breaks." Lin Yu forced herself to stand. Her legs wobbled but held. Small victory. They rode through this morning in silence. The landscape changed gradually. Less farmland, more wild grass and rolling hills. The air tasted different here. Cleaner. Sharper. Around midday they crested a hill, and Lin Yu saw something that made her breath catch. Mountains. Not the gentle landscaped hills near the city, but real mountains. Jagged peaks that clawed at the sky, their tops still white with snow even though it was nearly summer. "Northern Range," Kai Ren said, following her gaze. "Ranch is at the foot of the tallest peak. You'll see it tomorrow." "It's beautiful," Lin Yu said without thinking. "It's brutal," Kai Ren corrected. "Beautiful things usually are." They reached the way station as the sun set. It was a rough building, more barn than inn, but it had walls and a roof and actual beds. Lin Yu collapsed onto hers fully clothed and didn't wake until morning. The third day her body started to adapt. The pain didn't disappear, but it became manageable. She found a rhythm with the horse, learned to anticipate its movements. Old Chen nodded approvingly when he noticed. "You're tougher than you look," he said. "Is that a compliment?" "It's an observation." Late afternoon, Kai Ren pulled his horse to a stop at the top of a ridge. Old Chen and Lin Yu drew up beside him. "There," Kai Ren said, pointing. Lin Yu looked where he indicated and saw it. A valley nestled between mountains with a river cutting through the middle like a silver thread. Buildings clustered along the river, barns, houses, corrals. Smoke rose from chimneys. Even from this distance, she could see movement, people working, animals grazing. "That's home," Kai Ren said. Home. The word felt foreign in Lin Yu's mouth, but looking down at the valley, something in her chest loosened slightly. They descended the ridge as the sun turned everything gold. People noticed their approach. Workers paused to wave. Children ran alongside the horses for a few yards before veering off, laughing. Everyone seemed to know Kai Ren. He acknowledged them with nods, occasionally a word or two. They stopped in front of the largest building, a 2-story house made of timber and stone. It looked solid, built to last. Kai Ren dismounted and held out a hand to help Lin Yu down. She took it, surprised by the gesture. His hand was calloused and warm. "This is yours now too," he said, releasing her hand. "I'll show you inside." The house was sparse but clean. Wooden floors, sturdy furniture, windows that let in the late afternoon light. Kai Ren led her through quickly. Main room, kitchen, washing area, and upstairs 2 bedrooms. He stopped at one of the bedroom doors. "This one's yours. Mine's across the hall." Lin Yu blinked. "Separate rooms? You want the same room?" He sounded genuinely curious, not offended. No, I just assumed." "Don't assume anything here," Kai Ren said. "If you want something, say it. If you don't want something, say that too. I'm not interested in games or hints." Lin Yu felt her shoulders relax. "All right, dinner's at sunset. Everyone eats together in the main hall. You're expected to join." He paused at the door. "Unless you're sick or hurt. Then you rest." "I'm fine." He looked at her for a long moment, and Lin Yu had the unsettling feeling he could see straight through her brave front to the exhaustion beneath. But all he said was, "Good," and left. Lin Yu entered her room and closed the door. It was simple. A bed, a chest, a small table and chair. A window overlooked the valley. She stood there for a moment, watching the sun sink behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. 3 days ago, she'd been in the city, listening to her family celebrate her departure. Now she was here. This was real. She unpacked her trunk, hanging her few dresses in the narrow wardrobe, stacking her books on the table. The familiar items looked strange in this unfamiliar space, like pieces of a puzzle forced into the wrong picture. A bell rang somewhere outside. Dinner. Lin Yue washed her face in the basin, changed into a clean dress, and steeled herself. The dining hall was loud. Lin Yue had expected a quiet, formal meal, maybe her and Kai Ren and a few household servants. Instead, she walked into a room full of people. 20, maybe 30 men and women, all talking and laughing, passing bowls of food, pouring tea and wine. The noise hit her like a wave. The room quieted when they noticed her. Kai Ren appeared at her elbow. "Everyone, this is Lin Yue, my wife. She'll be living here now. Don't stare at her like she's a ghost." Someone laughed. The noise resumed, slightly more subdued. Kai Ren led her to a table at the head of the room. Old Chen was already seated, along with a handful of others. Foremen, Lin Yue guessed, or senior workers. "Sit," Kai Ren said, pulling out a chair for her. A woman about Lin Yu's age leaned forward from across the table. She had laugh lines around her eyes and dirt under her fingernails. "You survived the ride from the city. That's something. First day I got here, I cried for 6 hours straight." "Luhua," Kai Ren said warningly. "What?" "It's true. You remember." She grinned at Lin Yue. "I'm Lihua. I run the horse barn. If you need anything, come find me. I'll actually help, unlike these grumpy bastards." The man beside her snorted. "Grumpy? You threw a horseshoe at me last week." "You deserved it." Laughter rippled around the table. Lin Yue felt something unexpected, a smile tugging at her lips. Dinner was served family style. Huge bowls of stew, fresh bread, roasted vegetables. People helped themselves, passing dishes, refilling cups. It was chaotic and loud, and nothing like the formal dinners Lin Yu was used to. She liked it. "So what do?" Lihua asked Lin Yue between bites. "In the city, before." "Nothing useful," Lin Yue said honestly. "Embroidery, tea ceremony, things like that." "Embroidery?" The man across from her, Wei, someone called him, raised his eyebrows. "Can you fix leather?" "I've never tried." "Close enough, we'll teach you." "Can you cook?" another woman asked. "Not really." "Can you ride?" "Barely," Lihua laughed. "Well, you're honest at least. That counts for something." "Can you read?" This from an older woman at the end of the table. "Yes. And write. I can do basic mathematics." The woman's expression brightened. "Good. We need someone to help with the books. Our last bookkeeper died 3 months ago, and the records are a mess." Kai Ren glanced at Lin Yue. "If you want, no obligation." "I want," Lin Yue said. "I'd like to be useful." The old woman nodded approvingly. "Then you'll start tomorrow. I'm Auntie Feng. Find me after breakfast." The meal continued, conversations flowing around her. People argued about water rights, debated the best way to break a young horse, complained about the price of grain. It was all so normal, so real. No one asked her where she came from. No one cared that she was the boss's wife. They just wanted to know if she could work. After dinner, Kai Ren walked her back to the house. The night was cool, the stars bright. "They're not what I expected," Lin Yue said. "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Servants, maybe? People who'd treat me differently." Kai Ren shook his head. "No servants here. Just people doing jobs. You do yours, they'll respect you. You don't." He shrugged. Old Chen said the same thing. Old Chen's usually right. They reached the house. Kai Ren paused at the door. "Tomorrow will be harder than today. Every day will be for a while. If you need help, ask. If you can't do something, say so, but don't expect anyone to do your work for you." "I won't." He studied her face in the moonlight. "You're not what I expected either." "What did you expect?" "Someone quieter, more fragile." Lin Yue thought about her family's relief when she left. "They told you I was difficult, didn't they? My family. They said you spoke your mind too much, asked too many questions." He opened the door. Sounded like exactly what I needed. Before she could respond, he was inside and climbing the stairs to his room. Lin Yu stood in the doorway for a moment, processing his words. He'd chosen her on purpose, not despite her flaws, but because of them. She closed the door and went upstairs, her mind spinning. For the first time since the engagement was announced, she felt something other than resignation. She felt curious. The next morning, Lin Yu learned what work actually meant. Auntie Feng found her after breakfast and led her to a small office in one of the barns. The room was chaos, papers everywhere, ledgers stacked haphazardly, inkwells dried out and crusty. The last bookkeeper was organized, Auntie Feng said dryly. Then he died and his nephew took over. The nephew was an idiot. This is what happens when idiots keep books. How do you know what you owe or what's owed to you? Lin Yu asked, staring at the mess. We don't. That's the problem. Lin Yu rolled up her sleeves. All right, where do I start? Beginning, Auntie Feng handed her a ledger. Good luck. It took 3 days just to sort the papers into piles. Another week to decipher the nephew's handwriting and figure out his system, or lack thereof. Lin Yue worked from dawn until dinner, her hands cramping from writing, her eyes burning from squinting at smudged numbers. But slowly, patterns emerged. She started a new set of books, clean and organized, tracked income and expenses, debts, and credits. When she found discrepancies, she marked them and brought them to Kai Ren. He listened to her explanations without interrupting, then made decisions quickly. Write it off. Chase that debt. That vendor's cheating us. Find someone else. He trusted her judgment, didn't question her math or ask her to explain things twice, just listened and decided. It was strange, intoxicating almost. In the mornings before bookkeeping, Lin Yu started working with the horses. Li Hua taught her, patiently at first, then with increasing frustration when Lin Yu kept flinching away from the larger animals. They're not going to eat you, Li Hua said for the 10th time. I know that intellectually. Then stop acting like they will. She thrust a brush into Lin Yu's hand. Brush her. Firm strokes. Let her feel your confidence. What if I'm not confident? Fake it. Lin Yu approached the mare, a beautiful chestnut with a white blaze, and started brushing. The horse shifted, and Lin Yu jumped back. Li Hua groaned. You're hopeless. I'm trying. Try harder. By the end of the 2nd week, Lin Yu could brush a horse without fleeing. By the end of the 3rd, she could saddle one. Slowly, clumsily, but she could do it. Progress, Li Hua admitted grudgingly. Very, very slow progress. The evenings were for learning leather work. Wei taught her in the workshop, showing her how to fix broken tack, patch torn saddles, reinforce worn reins. Your stitches are terrible, he said, examining her first attempt. I know, but they'll hold, that's what matters. Her hands bled. The leather was stiff and unforgiving, the needles thick and brutal. But she kept at it, night after night, until her stitches became slightly less terrible. 1 month into her new life, Lin Yue looked at her hands and didn't recognize them. They were rough, calloused, stained with ink and leather dye and horsehair. They looked like they belonged to someone who worked. She flexed her fingers, watching the way the muscles moved, and felt something fierce and proud bloom in her chest. These were her hands now. The trouble started on a Tuesday. Lin Yu was in the office, reconciling accounts, when she heard raised voices outside. She looked out the window and saw Kai Ren talking to a man she didn't recognize. The stranger wore expensive clothes, silk, embroidered with gold thread. His posture radiated entitlement. Behind him were 4 guards, armed. Lin Yue set down her brush and went outside. Not negotiable, Kai Ren was saying, his voice flat and hard. The water rights belong to this ranch. They've belonged to this ranch for 3 generations. Times change, the stranger said smoothly. Lord Zhu is willing to make it worth your while. Name your price. I already did. No. The stranger's smile thinned. Lord Zhu doesn't like being told no. Then Lord Zhu will have to learn. Lin Yu approached quietly. Kai Ren noticed her but didn't acknowledge her presence. The stranger's eyes flicked to her and dismissed her immediately. Think carefully, the stranger said. Lord Zhu controls the eastern trade routes. The suppliers you rely on, the markets you sell to, they all go through his territory. It would be unfortunate if access became difficult. Is that a threat? It's reality. Kayren's jaw tightened. Get off my land. The stranger's smile disappeared entirely. You're making a mistake. Won't be my first. The guard shifted, hands moving toward weapons. The air went taut, dangerous. Lin Yu stepped forward before she could think better of it. Is Lord Zhu aware his representative is threatening landowners over water rights? She kept her voice polite, curious. Because that seems like the kind of thing that might interest the provincial magistrate. The stranger turned to her fully now, his expression cold. And who are you? Kairen's wife. Ah. His eyes raked over her, contemptuous. The city girl. I heard about you. Tell me, does your husband know you speak out of turn? My wife speaks when she has something worth saying, Kairen said quietly, which is more than I can say for you. The stranger's face flushed. This isn't over. Yes, Kairen said. It is. The stranger left, his guards trailing behind. Lin Yue watched them ride away until they disappeared over the ridge. Who was that? She asked. Lord Zhu's man. 5th time he's come in 3 months. Kairen turned toward the house. Getting more aggressive. What does Lord Zhu want? Water rights. Control of the river that runs through our land. If he gets it, he controls every farm and ranch for 50 miles. He paused. He's rich, powerful, connected, and he doesn't like being told no. Lin Yu thought about the stranger's threats. What will he do? Don't know yet. Kairen glanced at her. You shouldn't have stepped in. I know. But you did anyway. Yes. He almost smiled. You really are difficult. That night, Lin Yu couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about threats and water rights and powerful men who didn't like being told no. She thought about her family, who'd sold her off to avoid problems. She thought about Kai Ren, who stood his ground even when it would have been easier to bend. Somewhere around midnight, she made a decision. She got out of bed, went downstairs to the office, and started pulling records. Water rights, trade agreements, supplier contracts. She worked through the night, cross-referencing dates and names, building a picture of Lord Zhu's reach. When Kai Ren found her at dawn, surrounded by papers, she looked up with gritty eyes and said, I think I found something. He crouched beside her desk. What? Lord Zhu's threats aren't empty, but they're not as solid as he wants you to think. He controls the eastern routes, yes, but the northern routes are still independent, and there's a merchant consortium in the capital that's been trying to break into this region for years. They'd love a reliable supplier who doesn't have to go through Lord Zhu. Kairen studied the papers she'd laid out. You got all this in one night? Couldn't sleep. You should have rested. I will, after we figure this out. She tapped one of the ledgers. We could bypass Lord Zhu entirely if we shift our trade north. It's a longer route, but the profit margins might actually be better. Might be? I'd need to verify some numbers. Talk to the northern merchants, but I think it's possible. Kairen was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood and extended his hand. Come on. Where? Breakfast. Then sleep. Then we'll talk to the northern merchants. We? You did the work. You make the pitch. Lin Yue stared at him. You trust me to negotiate? You're smart. You know the numbers. You speak well. He paused. And you're not afraid. That matters more than you think. She took his hand and let him pull her to her feet. In the dining hall, people noticed her exhaustion and said nothing, just made space for her at the table and piled her plate high with food. Li Hua poured her tea. Auntie Feng gave her an approving nod. After breakfast, Lin Yu went upstairs and slept for 12 hours straight. When she woke, the sun was setting. She washed, changed, and went downstairs to find Kei Ren in his office, reviewing the same papers she'd left out. The northern merchants arrive tomorrow, he said without looking up. I sent word this morning. They'll be here by noon. Lin Yu's stomach flipped. Tomorrow? You said you needed to verify numbers. Tonight's your chance. She spent the evening rechecking calculations, rehearsing arguments, second-guessing everything. Auntie Feng found her pacing the office around midnight. You'll wear a hole in the floor, the old woman said. I'm nervous. Good. Means you care. She handed Lin Yue a cup of tea. You know what you're doing. Trust that. What if I fail? Then we find another way. But you won't fail. Auntie Feng smiled. You're too stubborn. The next day, Lin Yu stood in front of 3 northern merchants and made her pitch. She laid out the numbers, explained the routes, showed them the profit potential, answered their questions calmly, even when her heart was racing. When she finished, the eldest merchant, a shrewd woman named Merchant Tan, leaned back in her chair and said, "You make a compelling case." "Thank you. But Lord Zhu won't like this. He'll see it as a challenge. Then he'll have to adapt," Lin Yu said evenly, "the same way we're adapting." Merchant Tan smiled. "I like you. You've got steel in you." She glanced at Kei Ren. "All right, we'll do it. Trial period of 6 months. If the numbers hold, we'll make it permanent." They shook on it. After the merchants left, Kei Ren turned to Lin Yue. "You did well. We'll see if it works." "It'll work." He said it with such certainty that Lin Yue almost believed him. That night, the ranch celebrated. Someone brought out wine, and the dining hall filled with music and laughter. Lin Yue found herself pulled into conversations, clapped on the back, toasted. "To Lin Yue," Wei shouted, raising his cup. "Who tells powerful bastards to go to hell without raising her voice?" Everyone drank to that. Lin Yue looked around at these people. Rough, loud, honest people who'd accepted her not because of who she married, but because of what she could do, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt like she belonged. Later, much later, when the celebration had died down and most people had stumbled off to bed, Lin Yu stood outside under the stars. Kai Ren appeared beside her, 2 cups of tea in hand. He offered her one. "Thank you," she said, taking it. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Then Kai Ren said, "Your family was wrong about you." Lin Yu looked at him. "What do you mean?" "They thought you were difficult. A problem." He sipped his tea. "You're not difficult. You're just honest, and honest people make everyone else uncomfortable." "Is that why you chose me?" "Partly." He stared out at the valley. "I needed someone who wouldn't just agree with everything I said. Someone who'd push back when I was wrong. Someone who could think. You could have found that in someone from here." "Maybe. But I saw you at that market arguing with that merchant. You were right, and he was cheating your mother, and you didn't care that everyone was staring. You just cared about being right." He glanced at her. "I thought, that's someone I could build something with." Lin Yu's throat felt tight. "I thought you were buying me." "I was. In a way." He didn't flinch from the truth. "But I wasn't buying a decoration. I was buying a partner. There's a difference." "Is there?" "You tell me." Lin Yue thought about the last month, the work, the respect earned, the way Kai Ren listened to her ideas without dismissing them. "Yes," she said finally, "there is." Kai Ren nodded. "Good. Because this is just the beginning. Lord Zhu isn't going to let this go. Things are going to get harder." "I know." "And you're still in?" Lin Yue looked at her hands, rough, capable hands. Looked at the valley spread out below, at the life she was building here. "I'm in," she said. For the first time since her wedding, Kai Ren smiled. It was small, almost hesitant, but real. "Then let's see what we can do," he said. They finished their tea in silence and went inside. Lin Yue climbed the stairs to her room, but paused at the door, looking back. Kai Ren stood in the hallway, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Good night," she said. "Good night, Lin Yue." She went into her room and closed the door, her heart beating harder than it should. This wasn't the life she'd imagined. It wasn't the life anyone had planned for her. But standing there in the dark, listening to the sounds of the ranch settling for the night, Lin Yue realized something. This life was hers, truly hers, and she'd fight to keep it. Lord Zhu's response came faster than expected. 2 weeks after Lin Yu's deal with the northern merchants, 3 of their supply wagons disappeared. Not attacked, just gone. The drivers showed up at the ranch on foot, bruised and shaken, saying they'd been stopped by bandits who took the wagons and told them to walk home. Bandits, old Chen spat the word like it tasted bad. Bandits who wore Lord Zhu's colors under their cloaks. They were gathered in Kai Ren's office. Lin Yue, Kai Ren, old Chen, and Wei. The morning sun cut through the window, but the mood was dark. "You saw the colors?" Kai Ren asked the drivers. The youngest one nodded, still pale. One of them got careless. His cloak shifted when he was tying us up, red and gold underneath. That's Jew's house colors, Wei confirmed. Lin Yu stood by the window, arms crossed, thinking. He's trying to make the northern route look unreliable. If merchants think their goods won't make it through, they'll go back to the eastern routes. Smart, Old Chen said grudgingly. Bastard, but smart. Kei-Ren leaned back in his chair. We can't prove it was Jew's men. Everyone knows it was, Wei countered. Knowing and proving are different things. Kei-Ren's voice was tired. The magistrate won't move without proof. Then we get proof, Lin Yue said. All three men looked at her. How? Wei asked. We set a trap, send out another shipment, but this time we're ready for them. She turned from the window. If they attack again, we catch them. Get one to talk. That's dangerous, Kei-Ren said flatly. More dangerous than letting them pick off our shipments one by one? He didn't answer right away, just studied her face like he was trying to read something written there. Finally, you've been here 2 months. You don't have to... I'm not going to stand around while someone destroys what we're building, Lin Yue interrupted. I have as much stake in this as anyone. Old Chen grunted. She's got a point. It could go wrong, Kei-Ren warned. People could get hurt. People are already hurt, Lin Yu said, gesturing to the drivers. At least this way, we fight back. Kei-Ren was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, we'll do it your way. But I lead the ambush. You stay here. No. Lin Yue, you need me there. I'm the one who made the deal with the northern merchants. If this goes wrong, I should be there to answer for it. That's exactly why you should stay here. They stared at each other across the desk. Wei and Old Chen exchanged glances, clearly uncomfortable with the sudden tension. I'm going, Lin Yue said quietly. You can argue, but I'm still going. Kei-Ren's jaw worked. You're stubborn. You say that like it's news. He almost smiled. Fine, but you follow my lead. No improvising. I can do that. Can you? Lin Yue thought about all the times she'd jumped into situations without thinking. I'll try. That's what I thought. But his tone had softened. All right. Wei, get 20 of our best riders. Old Chen, you're in charge here while we're gone. Tell Merchant Tan what's happening. She deserves to know we're protecting her investment. They spent the next day preparing. The shipment was actually empty crates loaded onto wagons, made to look valuable. Lin Yu helped with the planning, mapping out the route, identifying the most likely ambush points. Here, she said, pointing to a narrow pass about 10 miles north. The road cuts through rocks on both sides. Perfect place for an ambush. Kei-Ren nodded. We'll split up. Half the men hidden on the south side, half on the north. Let them think they've got easy prey, then close in from both sides. What about the drivers? Wei asked. Volunteers only, and they need to be good actors. Kei-Ren looked around the room. Who can sell being terrified? Young Zhao raised his hand. I can do terrified. Did it for real 2 weeks ago. A few others volunteered. They rehearsed the plan until everyone knew their role, then set out at dawn. Lin Yue rode near the front with Kei-Ren. She'd insisted on a real horse this time, not the gentle mare Li Hua usually gave her. Kei-Ren had raised an eyebrow but said nothing, just helped her saddle a gray gelding with intelligent eyes. The ride to the ambush point took most of the morning. The landscape grew rougher, rockier, exactly the kind of place where bad things happened. They reached the narrow pass around midday. Kei-Ren split the group as planned. Wei taking half the riders to the north side, Kei-Ren leading the rest to the south. Lin Yue stayed with Kei-Ren's group, tucked behind a boulder that gave her a clear view of the road below. The wagons continued through, drivers looking appropriately nervous. Now they waited. An hour passed. Then 2. Lin Yu's legs cramped from crouching. Sweat trickled down her back. She started to wonder if maybe they'd guessed wrong. Maybe the bandits wouldn't come. Maybe... There, Kei-Ren breathed beside her. She followed his gaze and saw them. 8 men on horseback, approaching from the north. They wore rough clothes, faces covered, but something about the way they moved suggested training. These weren't desperate thieves. These were soldiers pretending to be thieves. The bandits surrounded the wagons. Their leader, a big man with a scar visible even through his mask, shouted for the drivers to stop. Young Zhao pulled the lead wagon to a halt, hands up, playing terrified perfectly. "Please, we don't want trouble." "Then you shouldn't have taken this road," Scar said. His voice was educated, not rough. Another tell. "Off the wagons. Now." The drivers climbed down, hands raised. The bandits moved in to search the cargo. K-Ren raised his hand, ready to signal the attack. Then everything went wrong. One of the bandits yanked open a crate and found it empty. "It's a trap!" he shouted. Scar's head snapped up. "Find them!" Kai-Ren dropped his hand and the rocks erupted with riders, but the bandits were already moving, scattering in trained formation. Two of them grabbed young Zhao as a shield. The others drew weapons, real weapons, military-grade swords. "Take them alive if you can!" Kai-Ren shouted, spurring his horse forward. Lin Yue followed without thinking, her horse leaping down the rocky slope. She had no weapon, no plan, just instinct screaming at her to help. The fight was chaos. Kai-Ren's men were good, but the bandits were better trained than expected. Steel rang against steel, horses screamed and wheeled. Lin Yue saw young Zhao struggling with his captor near one of the wagons. The bandit had a knife to Zhao's throat, backing toward his horse. She didn't think, just acted. Lin Yue rode straight at them, leaning low in the saddle. At the last second, she grabbed a loose plank from the broken crate and swung it hard at the bandit's head. The wood connected with a crack that vibrated up her arms. The bandit staggered, releasing Zhao, but he didn't go down. Instead, he spun toward Lin Yue, knife slashing upward. She jerked back. The blade missed her face by inches, sliced through her sleeve instead. Pain bloomed hot and immediate along her forearm. "Lin Yue!" Kai-Ren's voice, sharp with fear. The bandit raised his knife again. Lin Yue kicked out desperately, her boot connecting with his wrist. The knife flew into the dirt. Then Kai-Ren was there, yanking the bandit away from her horse, slamming him against the wagon with enough force to knock the wind out of him. "Don't move," Kai-Ren growled, his forearm across the man's throat. The fight was ending. Most of the bandits were subdued or fleeing. Wei had captured two, including Scar. The others had scattered into the rocks. Kai-Ren zip-tied the bandit's hands behind his back, then turned to Lin Yue. "Let me see your arm." "It's nothing." "Let me see it." She held out her arm. Blood soaked her sleeve, but when Kai-Ren carefully pushed the fabric aside, the cut was shallow, long, but not deep. "You're lucky," he said tightly. "I know. I told you to follow my lead." He had a knife to Zhao's throat. "So you rode at him with a piece of wood?" Kai-Ren's voice rose. "What were you thinking?" "I was thinking someone needed to help. That someone didn't need to be you." They were almost shouting now, faces inches apart. Around them, the men were pointedly looking elsewhere, tending horses, securing prisoners. Lin Yue took a breath. "I'm sorry I scared you, but I'm not sorry I helped." Kai-Ren stared at her. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, short and sharp and almost bitter. "You're going to make me gray before my time." "Probably." He shook his head, pulled a cloth from his saddlebag, and wrapped her arm with surprising gentleness. "We'll clean it properly when we get back. For now, this'll stop the bleeding." "Thank you." Young Zhao approached, looking shaken but unhurt. "Ma'am, Thank you. That was incredibly stupid and incredibly brave." "Mostly stupid," Kai-Ren muttered. "Saved my life, though," Zhao said firmly. They secured the prisoners and headed back to the ranch. Lin Yu's arm throbbed with every step, but she kept her face neutral. No point complaining about pain she'd earned through her own recklessness. Back at the ranch, Auntie Feng cleaned and stitched the cut while clucking her tongue disapprovingly. "Fighting bandits. What's next? Wrestling bears?" "Only if they threaten the ranch," Lin Yue said. Despite herself, Auntie Feng smiled. "You're as crazy as he is. No wonder you work." That evening, they questioned the prisoners in the barn. Kai-Ren, Wei, and Old Chen did most of the talking. Lin Yue stood to the side, arm bandaged, watching. Scar held out for an hour. Then Wei mentioned that they'd be turned over to the magistrate in the morning, and that the magistrate had recently lost his nephew to bandits and was feeling particularly harsh toward thieves. "Wait," Scar said. "Wait. I'll talk. But I want protection." "From who?" Kai-Ren asked. "Lord Zhu." Scar's mask was off now, revealing a weathered face and scared eyes. You think he'll let me live if I talk? He'll have me killed before I reach the magistrate. Then you better hope we can protect you, Old Chen said. Start talking. Scar talked, told them everything, how Lord Zhu had hired him and his men, how they were supposed to harass the northern trade route until it became too risky, how there were other teams doing the same thing across the region. He wants a monopoly, Scar said. Controls the trade, controls everything. Water rights are just the start. How many other teams? Wei asked. 4 that I know of, maybe more. Kai Ren and Old Chen exchanged looks. This was bigger than they'd thought. We need to get this to the magistrate, Wei said, along with the prisoner. Zhu will know we have him, Lin Yue said. He'll come after us. Let him try, Old Chen growled. But Kai Ren was already shaking his head. We do this right, by the law. Tomorrow, we take Scar to the magistrate with a full written account. Wei, you'll lead the escort, 20 armed men. Make it visible. Make it clear we're not hiding. And if Zhu tries something, Wei asked, then we defend ourselves. But we don't start the fight. Kai Ren looked at each of them. We win this the right way, or we don't win at all. That night, Lin Yu couldn't sleep. Her arm ached despite the willow bark tea Auntie Feng had given her. She finally gave up, pulled on a robe, and went downstairs. She found Kai Ren in the main room, staring into the dying fire. Can't sleep either? She asked. He glanced up. Too much to think about. She sat beside him on the worn couch. For a while, neither spoke. The fire crackled and popped, sending shadows dancing across the walls. I shouldn't have yelled at you, Kai Ren said finally. Earlier, at the ambush site. You were scared. Terrified. He said it simply, honestly. When I saw that knife come at you, I've seen men die, Lin Yue. I've lost people. But watching you almost get hurt was different. Why? He turned to look at her, and in the firelight, his face was open in a way she'd never seen. Because you matter, to this place, to these people. He paused. To me. Lin Yue's breath caught. Kai Ren, I know this started as an arrangement, he continued, a practical marriage, but somewhere along the way it became real, at least for me. She should have been surprised, should have needed time to process, but sitting there in the warm darkness, Lin Yue realized she'd known for a while, had felt it in the way he listened when she spoke, the way he trusted her judgment, the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. For me too, she said quietly. His eyes widened slightly. Yeah? Yeah, she smiled. You're not what I expected either. I thought I was marrying some cold mountain hermit who wanted a housekeeper. Instead, you got a rancher with too many problems and a tendency to worry. I like the worrying. Means you care. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers were calloused and gentle. I care a lot, he said. Lin Yu leaned into his touch. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. Even when it's dangerous? Especially then. He laughed, soft and warm. You really are impossible. You say that like you mind. I don't. He cupped her face with one hand, not even a little. When he kissed her, it was careful and sweet, and nothing like the perfunctory wedding kiss they'd shared months ago. This was real, a choice they were both making. Lin Yu's good arm came up to rest against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, fast, matching hers. When they pulled apart, Kai Ren rested his forehead against hers. We should probably talk about this. Set expectations. Probably. Tomorrow? Tomorrow, she agreed. He smiled. Your room or mine? Are you asking me to? I'm asking if you want to share a room, as a married couple. No pressure, just, I'd like to fall asleep next to you, if you want that too. Lin Yu thought about her small room across the hall from his, thought about the separate lives they'd been living under the same roof. It had made sense at first, giving each other space, not forcing intimacy that wasn't there. But things had changed. I want that too, she said. They went upstairs together. Kai Ren's room was larger than hers, with a big bed and windows overlooking the valley. He gave her space to change while he banked the fire, both of them moving with sudden shyness. When they finally lay down together, Kai Ren pulled her close, her back against his chest. His arm came around her carefully, mindful of her injury. "Comfortable?" he murmured against her hair. "Very." "Good." His arm tightened slightly. "Sleep. Tomorrow's going to be long." Lin Yue closed her eyes, feeling safe in a way she hadn't felt in years. Maybe ever. She was asleep in minutes. The next morning, Wei left for the magistrate's office with Scar and an armed escort. The ranch settled into tense waiting. Lin Yue threw herself into work, finishing the quarterly accounts, helping Li Hua with a difficult berth in the horse barn, learning to patch a roof from old Chen. Anything to keep her mind off what might be happening in the city. 3 days later, Wei returned. The whole ranch gathered as he rode in. His expression was grim. "The magistrate accepted our evidence," he said without preamble. "Scar confessed everything. The magistrate issued a warrant for Lord Zhu's arrest." "That's good," Kairen said. "So why do you look like someone died?" "Because Lord Zhu didn't wait for the arrest. He fled. And before he left, he sent word to all his allies." Wei dismounted heavily. "He's declared blood feud against this ranch, says we destroyed his honor and he'll have satisfaction." Silence fell over the gathered crowd. "Blood feud?" Li Hua's voice was sharp. "That's not legal." "Doesn't matter if it's legal if he has enough men willing to fight for him," old Chen said. "How many?" "Magistrate thinks maybe 50. Former soldiers, mercenaries. Men who don't care about laws." Kairen's jaw tightened. "When?" "Don't know. Could be days, could be weeks. But it's coming." That night, Kairen called a meeting. Everyone on the ranch crammed into the dining hall, workers, families, even the children. Kairen stood at the front, and for the first time since Lin Yu had met him, he looked uncertain. "You all know what's coming," he said. "Lord Zhu is bringing war to our doorstep. I won't lie to you, this is dangerous. People could die." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "So I'm giving you a choice," Kairen continued. "Anyone who wants to leave, leave. I'll give you 3 months' wages and a letter of recommendation. No judgment. This isn't your fight." "The hell it isn't," old Chen said loudly. "This ranch is our home. You think we're going to run just because some rich bastard throws a tantrum?" "Chen's right," Li Hua stood. "We stay. We fight." One by one, people stood. Young Zhao, Auntie Feng, Wei, all the faces Lin Yue had come to know over the past months. "We stay," they said, again and again. "We stay." Kairen's throat worked. "All right, then we prepare, we fortify, and we make sure Lord Zhu regrets coming here." The next weeks were a blur of preparation. They reinforced the walls, stockpiled supplies, trained everyone who could hold a weapon. Lin Yu learned to shoot a bow, badly at first, but improving with practice. "Keep your elbow up," Li Hua instructed for the 100th time, "and breathe out when you release." Lin Yu tried again. The arrow hit closer to the target this time. "Better," Li Hua admitted. "You might actually hit something if it's big and not moving." Encouraging? I don't do false encouragement. In the evenings, Lin Yue and Kai Ren planned defenses, mapped out fields of fire, identified weak points in their perimeter. They worked side by side, talking through scenarios, preparing for the worst. "What if they attack from the east?" Lin Yue asked, pointing at the map. "River's there. They'd have to cross it. Gives us warning." He traced a line with his finger. "More worried about the North Ridge. Good cover for an approach. So we put watchers there." "Already did, but we're spread thin." Lin Yue studied the map, thinking, "What if we don't try to defend everything? What if we consolidate, pull everyone back to the main compound, abandon the outer buildings?" Kai Ren looked at her. "That's my thought too, but people won't like it. Those outer buildings are their homes." "Their homes won't matter if they're dead." "True." He rolled up the map. "I'll tell them tomorrow." As predicted, people weren't happy about abandoning the outer buildings. But they did it, moving families and supplies into the main compound over the course of 3 days. The ranch that had felt spacious now felt crowded, tense. Children who usually ran free were kept close. Laughter became rare. On the 4th day, the scouts came back with news. "They're coming," the lead scout reported. 50 men, maybe more. 2 days away, moving fast." Kairen nodded calmly. "Everyone to positions. We knew this was coming. That night, lying in bed beside him, Lin Yu felt fear settle in her stomach like ice. I'm scared, she admitted. Kai Ren pulled her closer. Me too. Really? Anyone with sense is scared before a fight. Trick is not letting it paralyze you. How do you do that? You focus on what matters, on who you're fighting for. He kissed her temple. I'm fighting for this place. For these people. For you. That's bigger than fear. Lin Yue turned to face him in the darkness. I love you. She felt him go still. Say that again. I love you, Kai Ren. I should have said it before, but I'm saying it now. His arms tightened around her. I love you too. Have for a while now. They held each other in the dark, memorizing the feel of this moment. Because tomorrow, everything might change. The attack came at dawn. Lord Ju's men hit the North Ridge first, just as Kai Ren had predicted. But there were more of them than the scouts reported, at least 70, maybe 80. The ranch defenders fought hard, arrows flew, men shouted. The world contracted to noise and smoke and fear. Lin Yu was stationed with the archers on the main building's roof. Her job was simple. Shoot anyone who got close. Her hands shook as she knocked her first arrow. Breathe, Li Hua said beside her. Just like practice. But this wasn't practice. These were real people down there, trying to hurt the people she cared about. An attacker broke through the north defenses, running toward the main building. Lin Yue drew, aimed, released. The arrow went wide. Again, Li Hua said calmly. Lin Yue knocked another arrow. Drew. This time she didn't think. Just let her body remember the training. The arrow hit the man's leg. He went down. Good enough, Li Hua said. Next target. The battle raged for hours. Lin Yue lost count of how many arrows she shot. Her fingers bled from the bowstring. Smoke stung her eyes. Below, she caught glimpses of Kai Ren leading the defense at the north wall. He fought like someone who'd done this before, calm and efficient even in chaos. Then she saw Lord Ju himself, unmistakable in his fine armor, cutting through their defenders toward Kai Ren. No, Lin Yue breathed. She drew an arrow, aimed at Ju, but the distance was too far, the angle wrong. She'd never make the shot. Ju reached Kai Ren. Their swords met with a clash she could hear even over the battle's roar. Lin Yue watched, helpless, as the two men fought. Ju was good, better than good. Kai Ren was tiring. Then old Chen appeared behind Ju, staff swinging hard at the Lord's knees. Ju stumbled. Kai Ren pressed the advantage. In seconds, it was over. Ju was on his knees, Kai Ren's sword at his throat. Yield! Kai Ren shouted. For a moment, Lin Yue thought Ju would refuse, thought he'd choose death over surrender. Then, slowly, Ju lowered his weapon. I yield, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. His men, seeing their leader defeated, began throwing down their own weapons. The battle was over. They'd won. The victory felt hollow. Lin Yue stood on the roof watching smoke rise from 3 burning outbuildings, counting the bodies being carried to the makeshift infirmary. 12 of their own dead, 23 wounded. The numbers kept running through her head like an accounting ledger she couldn't balance. Below, Kai Ren had Lord Ju and his remaining men bound and under guard. The magistrate had been sent for. Everything was being done properly, legally, just as Kai Ren insisted. But Lin Yue kept seeing that moment when Ju's sword had come within inches of Kai Ren's neck, kept feeling the helplessness of being too far away to do anything but watch. You should come down, Li Hua said quietly beside her. People want to see you. You fought well. I shot arrows from a roof. Others actually fought. Others also had the option to hide in the cellar. You chose to fight. Li Hua touched her shoulder. That matters. Lin Yue let herself be led downstairs. The main hall had been converted into a chaos of wounded and exhausted defenders. Auntie Feng moved between them with surprising energy for her age, directing the younger women in bandaging and cleaning wounds. Lin Yue, she called out, I need your hands. Young Chen needs stitches, and mine are shaking too much. Lin Yue went to where young Chen, no relation to old Chen despite the name, lay on a makeshift cot. A deep gash ran across his shoulder, still bleeding sluggishly through the compress someone had applied. This is going to hurt, Lin Yue warned as she threaded the needle Auntie Feng handed her. Can't hurt worse than getting it, Chen said through gritted teeth. He was maybe 19, with a baby face that made him look younger. Lin Yue's hands were steadier than she expected as she worked. The stitching lessons from Wei, meant for leather, translated well enough to skin. Chen hissed and swore, but held still. "You're good at this," Auntie Feng observed. "I'm really not. I'm just doing it." Same thing sometimes. By the time Lin Yu finished, her hands were cramping and Chen had passed out from the pain. She moved to the next patient, then the next, lost herself in the work of tending wounds and trying not to think about how each injury represented a moment when someone almost died. Hours later, Kai Ren found her in the corner washing blood off her hands. He looked exhausted, his face smudged with soot and dirt. "The magistrate's here," he said. "Want statements from both of us." Lin Yu dried her hands. "How's Ju?" "Alive. Angry. Already threatening legal action for unlawful imprisonment. He attacked us. His lawyers will say we provoked him." Kai Ren's voice was flat with fatigue. "Doesn't matter. We have witnesses, evidence. The magistrate seems inclined to believe us." They gave their statements in Kai Ren's office while Lord Ju was questioned separately in the barn. The magistrate, a thin man with intelligent eyes, listened without interrupting, taking careful notes. "This feud has cost enough lives," he said when they finished. "Lord Ju will stand trial in the provincial capital. His assets will be frozen pending investigation into his business practices." "What about his men?" Lin Yu asked. "The ones who fought for him? The mercenaries will be charged. The others," the magistrate shrugged. "Many were tenant farmers conscripted under threat. We'll sort out who did what. Justice takes time." After he left, Lin Yue and Kai Ren sat in silence. The adrenaline that had carried them through the day was fading, leaving only bone-deep exhaustion. "We won," Kai Ren said, but he didn't sound happy about it. "At what cost?" He didn't answer, didn't need to. They both knew the cost. 12 lives, dozens of injuries, buildings burned, trust shattered. Even victory carried a price. That night, Lin Yu couldn't sleep despite her exhaustion. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the battle, heard the screams, felt the bowstring cutting into her fingers as she drew arrow after arrow. She got up quietly, careful not to wake Kai Ren, and went to the window. The ranch was dark except for the watchfires where sentries still stood guard. Would they always need guards now? Would there always be another threat? "Can't sleep?" Kai Ren's voice came from the bed. "Sorry, didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't. I was faking it." He sat up. "Come here." She went to him, let him pull her back into bed. His arms came around her and she tucked her head under his chin. "I keep thinking about the people we lost," she said quietly. "Wei told me their names. I knew some of them. Young Zhao was teaching me to play cards, and Chen's wife just had a baby last month. I know. How do you carry that? Knowing people died defending your ranch?" Kai Ren was quiet for a long time. "You don't carry it alone. You share it with everyone who's left. And you make sure their deaths meant something by building something worth protecting. Is it worth it, all of this? Ask me that again in a year." He kissed the top of her head. "Right now I'm too tired to have the answer." Lin Yue pressed closer to him, listening to his heartbeat, steady, alive. That had to be enough for now. The funerals were held 3 days later, 12 graves on the hillside overlooking the valley. The entire ranch turned out, along with people from neighboring farms who'd heard what happened. Lin Yu stood beside Kai Ren as each name was read, watched families weep, felt the weight of choices, hers and Kai Ren's, that had led to this moment. After the ceremony, people came to offer condolences, not just to the families of the dead, but to Kai Ren and Lin Yue as well, as if they too had lost something. And they had, Lin Yue realized. They'd lost innocence, lost the belief that doing the right thing wouldn't cost them anything. Old Chen found her afterwards, staring at the fresh graves. "You're thinking too much," he said. "Someone should." "Thinking and dwelling aren't the same thing." He stood beside her, hands clasped behind his back. "Those men and women chose to fight. Nobody forced them. They knew the risks. That doesn't make it easier. Wasn't supposed to." He turned to look at her. "But you don't honor their choice by drowning in guilt. You honor it by making sure this place thrives. That's what they fought for." Lin Yue nodded, not trusting her voice. "You did good," Old Chen added gruffly. "During the battle. Heard you kept your head, took good shots. Even went down after to help with the wounded. I was terrified the whole time. Everyone was. Difference is, you fought anyway. He clapped her shoulder once, awkwardly, then walked away before she could respond. That evening, as the ranch slowly returned to its routines, a messenger arrived. Not from the magistrate this time, but from the city. From Lin Yue's family. Kai Ren brought her the letter in their room. She stared at the seal, her father's mark, and felt her stomach drop. "You don't have to read it now," Kai Ren said. "Might as well get it over with." She broke the seal and unfolded the paper. Her father's handwriting, formal and precise. The letter was brief. Her family had fallen on hard times. Her father's business partner had embezzled funds and disappeared, leaving massive debts. They were facing ruin. As their daughter, their eldest daughter, Lin Yue had a filial duty to help them. She read it twice, feeling nothing. Then a third time, waiting for anger or guilt or something to surface. Still nothing. "What is it?" Kai Ren asked. "My family needs money. They're bankrupt." She handed him the letter. "They want me to ask you for help." He read it quickly, his expression darkening. "They don't ask. They demand. As if you owe them. They raised me. And then sold you off the first chance they got." He set the letter down. "What do you want to do?" Lin Yu thought about it. Really thought about it. 6 months ago, she would have felt obligated, would have agonized over the decision. But now, standing in this room with this man, on this land she'd fought for. "Nothing," she said. "I want to do nothing." Kai Ren raised his eyebrows. "Nothing?" "They made their choice when they sent me away. Made it clear I was a burden they were relieved to be rid of." She picked up the letter and held it. "I don't owe them my husband's money. I don't owe them anything." "You're sure?" "Completely." And she was. The certainty settled over her like calm after a storm. "They'll figure it out, or they won't. Either way, it's not my problem. They might come here, try to pressure you in person." Lin Yue thought about that possibility. Her father showing up, expecting obedience. Her mother's disappointed face. May's judgment. "Let them come," she said. "I'm not the same person they sent away." Kai Ren smiled, small but genuine. "No, you're not." A week passed. The ranch slowly healed, physically, if not emotionally. The burned buildings were cleared away. New construction began. Routines resumed. Lin Yu threw herself into the rebuilding with almost manic energy. She worked on the accounts, helped repair fences, learned to assist in the forge. Anything to stay busy, to avoid thinking too much. Li Hua finally pulled her aside one afternoon. "You're going to work yourself to death," she said bluntly. "I'm fine. You're not sleeping, you barely eat, and yesterday you tried to lift a beam that took 3 men to move." Li Hua crossed her arms. "Talk to me." Lin Yu set down the hammer she'd been holding. "I don't know how to just be. After everything that happened, people died, Li Hua, and I'm just supposed to go back to normal? Nobody said normal, but you can't spend the rest of your life punishing yourself for surviving. I'm not—" Lin Yu stopped. Was that what she was doing? "I just feel like I should be doing more." "You're doing plenty, but you're also allowed to rest, to grieve, to just exist without being productive every second." Li Hua's voice softened. "You're human, Lin Yue, not a machine." That night, Lin Yue forced herself to slow down. She and Kai Ren had dinner together, just the two of them for the first time in weeks. They didn't talk about the battle or the ranch or anything important, just small things, stupid things. "Old Chen thinks we should get chickens," Kai Ren said. "Chickens?" "Says fresh eggs would be good for morale." Lin Yu laughed. It felt strange, rusty, like she'd forgotten how. "Morale chickens. That's a new concept." He's very serious about it. Drew up plans for a coup and everything. "Then I guess we're getting chickens." They smiled at each other across the table, and for a moment, everything felt almost normal. Then someone knocked on the door. Kai Ren went to answer it. Lin Yu heard voices, one she didn't recognize, one horribly familiar. Her father. She stood up as Kai Ren led him into the dining room. Her father looked older than she remembered, thinner. His expensive clothes were slightly worn, his face lined with stress. "Lin Yue," he said, and his voice was exactly the same, authoritative, expecting obedience. "Father." She didn't bow. didn't move from her spot. His eyes narrowed slightly at the omission, but he smiled. You look well. The frontier air must agree with you. What do you want? Straight to business. I see you haven't changed. He glanced at Kai Ren. Might we speak privately? No, Lin Yue said before Kai Ren could respond. Anything you have to say to me, you can say in front of my husband. Her father's smile tightened. Very well. I assume you received my letter? I did. Then you understand the situation. We need assistance. Temporary, of course. Just until… No. The word hung in the air like a slap. Her father blinked. I'm sorry? I said no. I won't be giving you money. Lin Yu, this is your family we're discussing. Your mother, your sister, they'll be destitute if… Then perhaps you should have thought of that before you spent years making me feel like a burden you couldn't wait to be rid of. Her voice was steady, calm. You accepted the first marriage proposal that came along. Didn't ask what I wanted, didn't care where I'd be going. You were just relieved to have me gone. That's not… We did what was best for you. You did what was easiest for you. Lin Yu crossed her arms. And now that it's convenient, you remember you have an eldest daughter. Well, I remember too. I remember every disappointed look, every time you compared me to May and found me lacking, every moment you made me feel like I was the problem. Her father's face reddened. How dare you speak to me this way? After everything we've done for you? You fed and housed me. That's what parents are supposed to do. It doesn't buy you a lifetime of obedience. She stepped closer. I've built a life here, a real life, with people who value me for who I am, not who they wish I would be. I won't let you tear that down because you made bad business decisions. You ungrateful! Her father turned to Kai Ren. Are you going to let your wife disrespect her father like this? Kai Ren's expression was flat. My wife can speak for herself. And she already gave you her answer. This is outrageous. I'll go to the magistrate. There are laws about filial duty. Go ahead, Lin Yue said. The magistrate is a friend of ours. He might be interested to hear how you married off your daughter without her consent and are now demanding money from her husband. Her father stared at her like he'd never seen her before. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe the Lin Yue he knew, quiet, obedient, desperate for approval, had never really existed except in his imagination. You've changed, he said finally. Yes, I have. Your mother will be heartbroken. My mother stood by and watched you treat me like defective merchandise for 27 years. She'll survive. Her father's hands clenched. For a moment, Lin Yue thought he might actually lose his composure completely, but then he straightened his robes and assumed his dignity like armor. You'll regret this, he said coldly. When we're destitute, when your family name is ruined, you'll have to live with knowing you could have prevented it. I'll manage. Lin Yue walked to the door and opened it. Goodbye, father. Safe travels back to the city. He stared at her for a long moment. Then, without another word, he turned and left. She watched him ride away in the darkness, his back rigid with anger. When his horse disappeared from view, she closed the door and leaned against it. Her hands were shaking. Kai Ren came to stand beside her. You all right? I don't know. She looked at her trembling hands. I just told my father no. Refused him completely, in front of you, in front of everyone. How does it feel? Lin Yu thought about it. Waited for the guilt to crash over her, for the fear of having violated some fundamental rule. It didn't come. It feels right, she said slowly. It feels like I just cut the last rope tying me to a life I never wanted. Kai Ren pulled her into his arms. Good, because that took a lot of courage. Did it? I feel like I should feel worse about it. You feel how you feel. There's no should. He kissed her forehead. Your father made his choices. You made yours. That's how it works. They stood there in the quiet, holding each other. Outside, the ranch settled into night. Somewhere, Old Chen was probably still drawing plans for his morale chickens. Li Hua was checking on the horses. Auntie Feng was organizing tomorrow's work assignments. Life went on. The next weeks were surprisingly peaceful. Spring turned into early summer. The wounded healed. The new buildings went up. Trade with the northern merchants flourished now that Lord Zhu wasn't interfering. Lin Yue waited for her father to make good on his threat, to show up with lawyers or the magistrate or something. But nothing happened. Either he'd accepted her refusal, or he'd found another solution to his financial problems. She tried not to care which. What she did care about was the ranch. It was thriving in ways she hadn't expected. The northern trade route had opened up opportunities, new markets, better prices, connections to merchants who valued quality over convenience. Lin Yue's role expanded. She wasn't just keeping the books anymore. She was negotiating contracts, identifying new opportunities, building relationships with traders and merchants across the region. "You're good at this," Merchant Tan said during one of her visits. "Better than most men I work with. You see patterns they miss." "I just pay attention," Lin Yue demurred. "That's rarer than you think." Tan sipped her tea. "Have you considered expanding? Maybe opening a trading post in one of the northern towns?" Lin Yue hadn't, but the idea sparked something in her mind. "We'd need capital, and someone to run it. I know people, good people, looking for opportunities." Tan set down her cup. "Think about it. We could do something significant together." That night, Lin Yu discussed it with Kai Ren. "It's risky," he said, studying the rough numbers she'd sketched out, "but the returns could be substantial. It would mean trusting someone else to represent us, to make decisions on our behalf. We've built a good team here. Maybe it's time to expand that trust." They talked late into the night, weighing risks against rewards, dreaming about what might be possible. It felt good, planning for the future, instead of just surviving the present. The decision came easier than Lin Yue expected. They would do it. Not immediately. They needed to recover fully from the battle first, build up reserves. But within a year, they'd open a trading post. It was a commitment to staying, to building something permanent. Lin Yue realized, somewhere in that conversation, that she'd stopped thinking about the ranch as Kai Ren's place and started thinking of it as theirs. Somewhere along the way, without noticing exactly when, she'd put down roots. Summer brought its own challenges. A drought started, threatening the crops and straining the water supply. The very water rights they'd fought Lord Zhu over became critical. Kai Ren called a meeting with the neighboring ranches to discuss sharing resources. It was tense. Water made people nervous. But Lin Yue helped negotiate a fair distribution system that gave everyone enough to survive. "You have a gift for this," one of the neighboring ranchers told her afterward, "making people feel heard even when you're telling them no." "I spent years not being heard," Lin Yue said. "I know what it feels like. I don't want to do that to others." By late summer, the drought broke. Rain came in sheets, turning the dry earth to mud, filling the river to overflowing. It was too much too fast, but after months of drought, people celebrated anyway. Lin Yue stood in the rain, face turned up to the sky, letting the water wash over her. Kai Ren found her there, equally soaked. "What are you doing?" he shouted over the downpour. "Enjoying it." She grabbed his hand and pulled him into what might generously be called a dance. They spun in the mud, laughing like idiots, while around them the ranch came back to life. That night, dry and warm again, Kai Ren pulled her close in bed. "I have something to tell you," he said. Lin Yu's heart skipped. "What?" "The magistrate sent word. Lord Zhu's trial is scheduled for next month. They want us to testify." Lin Yu had known this was coming, but hearing it made it real. "Both of us?" "If you're willing. You were there. You saw what happened. Your testimony matters. Will we be safe? Zhu might still have allies. The magistrate is arranging protection, and it's only for a few days." Lin Yu thought about it. Going back to the city meant confronting her past, maybe running into her family, definitely facing people who'd known her before. Part of her wanted to refuse, to send Kai Ren alone. But she'd fought for this ranch. She'd earned her place here. She wouldn't hide now. "I'll go," she said. "We'll both go. Together." Kai Ren kissed her, soft and proud. Together. The trip to the provincial capital took 4 days. They brought an escort, Wei and 10 others, all armed. The magistrate had arranged for them to stay in a secure guest house near the court. The city felt overwhelming after months in the valley. Too many people, too much noise, too many smells. Lin Yue found herself reaching for Kai Ren's hand without thinking. "You all right?" he asked quietly. "Just remembering why I don't miss this." The trial was held in a grand hall that reminded Lin Yue of every formal occasion she'd hated as a child. Lord Ju sat in chains, flanked by guards, his expensive clothes replaced with prison garb. He looked smaller somehow, less threatening. But when his eyes found Lin Yue in the gallery, they filled with such pure hatred that she felt it like a physical blow. The prosecution laid out their case methodically, evidence of the attacks on the trade routes, testimony from Scar and other captured mercenaries, records of Ju's communications with his men. When it was Kai Ren's turn to testify, he was calm and factual, described the harassment, the threats, the final battle, answered every question without embellishment or emotion. Then it was Lin Yu's turn. She walked to the witness stand on legs that threatened to shake. The magistrate who'd visited the ranch was presiding, a good sign, but the room was full of officials and nobles who looked at her with varying degrees of skepticism. A woman, a rancher's wife. What could she possibly know? She knew plenty. Lin Yu answered every question clearly and precisely, described the attack, the defense, the casualties. When Lord Ju's lawyer tried to twist her words, suggest she was exaggerating, she calmly pulled out copies of the ranch records she'd brought. "These are the accounts from before and after the attacks," she said, handing them to the magistrate. "You can see exactly what we lost. 12 lives, 23 injured, 3 buildings destroyed. This isn't exaggeration. This is documentation." The lawyer tried again. "But isn't it true that your husband refused a very generous offer from Lord Ju? That this entire situation could have been avoided if my husband had surrendered his legal water rights to avoid being attacked?" Lin Yu interrupted. "That's not negotiation, that's extortion." Murmurs rippled through the court. "I'm simply suggesting," the lawyer continued, "that there may have been alternatives to violence." "There were alternatives," Lin Yu agreed. "Lord Ju could have accepted no as an answer, could have respected our legal rights, could have not sent armed men to steal our property and threaten our lives. Those were all alternatives he chose not to take." The lawyer sat down. The magistrate called for a brief recess. Lin Yue returned to her seat beside Kai Ren, her heart pounding. "You did well," he murmured. "I wanted to punch his lawyer." "I know. I could tell. You didn't, though, so that's progress." Despite everything, Lin Yue smiled. The verdict came the next day. Guilty on all counts. Lord Ju was sentenced to 20 years, his assets seized to pay restitution to his victims. As the guards led him away, Ju turned to look directly at Lin Yue and Kai Ren. "This isn't over," he mouthed. But it was. Whatever power he'd had, whatever threats he could make, they were meaningless now. He was just a man in chains being led away to prison. Lin Yu felt something loosen in her chest. They'd won. Not just the battle, but the war. They were free. That night, before they left the city, Kai Ren asked if she wanted to visit her family. Lin Yu thought about it. About her mother's face, her father's disappointment, May's judgment, about the house she'd grown up in and never quite fit. "No," she said. "I don't think I do." "You're sure? This might be your last chance for a while." "I'm sure." She took his hand. "They're part of my past. You're my future. Let's go home." They left the city at dawn, the rising sun at their backs. As they rode through the gates, Lin Yu didn't look back, not even once. Home was waiting. The ranch looked different when they returned. Or maybe Lin Yue was the one who'd changed. Either way, riding down into the valley felt like coming home in a way the city never had. People came out to greet them, not with fanfare, but with the quiet acknowledgement of work paused and nods exchanged. Old Chen took their horses without comment. Li Hua asked if they were hungry. Auntie Feng just looked them over once and said, "Good, you're back." That night, Lin Yu fell asleep before sunset, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with the physical journey. When she woke the next morning, Kai Ren was already gone, probably out checking on things he'd missed during their absence. She dressed and went downstairs to find the kitchen in controlled chaos. 3 women were preparing breakfast while simultaneously arguing about the best way to preserve summer vegetables. "Pickling," one insisted. "Drying is more practical," another countered. "You're both wrong. Salt curing." They stopped when they noticed Lin Yue. "Morning," she said, pouring herself tea. "Don't let me interrupt." "We were just discussing storage for winter," the first woman, Ming, Lin Yue remembered, said. "Last year we ran short of preserved goods by February." What if we did all three methods? Lin Yue suggested. Diversify. That way, if one batch spoils, we're not completely without. The women looked at each other, then nodded. That's actually sensible, Ming admitted. Don't sound so surprised, Lin Yu said, but she was smiling. She spent the morning in the office, catching up on correspondence and accounts. There were letters from the northern merchants, reports from the foremen, and a surprising number of inquiries from other ranches asking about their trade arrangements. Word had spread about their victory over Lord Zhu. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know how they'd managed it, how they'd organized their defense, how they'd built their northern trade connections. Lin Yue answered each letter carefully, sharing what she could without revealing anything that might compromise their competitive advantage. It was a delicate balance, being helpful without being foolish. Around midday, Kai Ren appeared in the doorway. "Come with me," he said. "There's something you need to see." He led her to the north pasture, where a group of men were working on something she couldn't quite make out from a distance. As they got closer, she realized they were building a structure, larger than a barn, more elaborate than a simple storage building. "What is this?" she asked. "Trading post," Kai Ren said, "or the beginning of one. I talked to Wei and some of the others while you were sleeping. We decided to move up the timeline." Lin Yue stared at the half-built structure. "But we said a year. We were going to wait until we felt ready. But then I realized we'll never feel completely ready. There's always going to be another reason to delay." He looked at her. "So I made a decision. We start now." "Just like that?" "Just like that." He smiled slightly. "Unless you disagree. Then we can tear it down and I'll feel very stupid." Lin Yue walked closer to the building, running her hand along one of the support posts. The wood was good quality, already weatherproofed. Someone had put real thought into this. "Who designed it?" she asked. "Wei did the basic structure, but we left the interior for you. Figured you'd have ideas about how to organize a trading post." She did have ideas. Lots of them. They were already forming in her mind. How to arrange goods for easy access, where to put the office space, how to create a welcoming area for merchants to negotiate. "When did you plan all this?" she asked. "On the ride back from the city. You were asleep in the saddle most of the time, so I had plenty of opportunity to think." He came to stand beside her. "We've been reacting to things for months. Lord Zhu, the drought, your family. I wanted to do something proactive for once. Something that's about building, not just defending." Lin Yu felt something warm expand in her chest. "I love it." "Yeah?" "Yeah." She kissed him quickly. "But I'm changing Wei's office placement. It's completely impractical." He laughed. "I told him you'd say that." They spent the afternoon planning the interior, sketching layouts in the dirt, arguing about details. It felt good. Normal. Like they were building a future instead of just surviving the present. That evening at dinner, Wei stood up and announced the trading post project to the whole ranch. People asked questions, offered suggestions, volunteered to help with construction. "We'll need someone to manage it," Auntie Feng pointed out. "Can't just build it and hope it runs itself." "I've been thinking about that," Kai Ren said. "Young Zhao has a good head for numbers and people like him. What if we train him up?" Zhao, sitting near the end of the table, looked startled. "Me? I don't know anything about running a trading post." "None of us do," Lin Yue said. "We'll figure it out together, but you're honest, you're smart, and people trust you. That's what matters." I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Li Hua called out, "before they change their minds." Zhao grinned. "Yes, definitely yes." The trading post became the ranch's focus over the next months. Everyone contributed. Even the children helped by carrying tools and cleaning up debris. It gave people purpose, something positive to work toward after the trauma of the battle. Lin Yue found herself spending more time there than in the main office. She liked watching it take shape, seeing her ideas become reality. She worked alongside the builders, learning as she went, making mistakes and adjusting. One afternoon, she was up on the roof helping install shingles when she heard a commotion below. She looked down to see a rider approaching, not one of theirs. Kai Ren was already moving toward the visitor, hand resting casually near his belt where he kept a knife. The ease with which he did it, the automatic threat assessment, reminded Lin Yue that some scars from the battle weren't visible. She climbed down quickly. By the time she reached them, Kai Ren was talking to a woman about Lin Yu's age, dusty from travel. Lost everything in a fire, the woman was saying. I heard you might have work. I'm strong, I learn fast, and I'm not afraid of hard labor. What's your name? Kai Ren asked. Jun, just Jun. There was something haunted in Jun's eyes, something that made Lin Yu think she was running from more than just a fire. But then, weren't they all running from something? We've got work, Lin Yu said, stepping forward. Pay is fair, food and housing included. But everyone pulls their weight. Jun's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank you. I won't let you down. She didn't. Jun turned out to be one of the hardest workers they'd ever hired. She was up before dawn, worked until dark, and never complained. But she also never talked about her past, never joined the evening conversations in the dining hall, never quite let anyone get close. She reminds me of someone, Li Hua said one evening, watching Jun eat alone in the corner. Who? Lin Yu asked. You, when you first got here, all walls and determination. Lin Yu thought about that. Should I talk to her? Only if you want to. Some people need time before they're ready to be known. But a week later, Lin Yu found Jun crying behind the new trading post, silent tears streaming down her face while she gripped a piece of charred wood. Hey, Lin Yu said softly. You okay? Jun wiped her face quickly. Fine. Sorry, I should get back to work. Or you could sit for a minute. Work will still be there. Jun hesitated, then sank down onto a pile of lumber. Lin Yu sat beside her, not pushing, just present. Finally, Jun spoke. The fire wasn't an accident. My husband set it. He was angry because I refused to give him money my mother left me. So he burned our house down with everything I owned inside. Is he looking for you? Probably. That's why I keep moving. Jun turned the charred wood over in her hands. This was from my mother's chest. Only thing I saved. Lin Yu recognized that particular kind of pain, the weight of carrying pieces of a broken past. You're safe here, she said. If he shows up, he'll have to go through all of us. You don't know him. I don't need to know him. I know you're part of this ranch now. That means something. Jun looked at her with something like hope. Really? Really? Word spread quickly among the women. By dinner, everyone knew Jun's story, or the outline of it. And by the next morning, there was an unspoken agreement. They watched the roads more carefully, asked questions of strangers, made sure Jun was never alone in vulnerable situations. It reminded Lin Yue of what Kai Ren had said once. You don't carry things alone here. You share the weight. The trading post was finished by early autumn. They held an opening celebration. Nothing fancy, just good food and music and the satisfaction of completion. Merchant Tan came for the occasion, along with several other northern traders. Impressive, Tan said, walking through the space. You've really thought this through. The layout, the storage, even the lighting. Lin Yue designed most of it, Kai Ren said. Did she now? Tan smiled at Lin Yue. You've got a good head for business. Ever think about doing this professionally? I am doing it professionally. I mean beyond the ranch. There's a merchant consortium forming in the north. We could use someone with your skills. Lin Yue felt Kai Ren tense beside her. She touched his arm briefly. I appreciate the offer, but my place is here. The offer stands if you change your mind. Tan moved on to examine the inventory system. Later, when the celebration had died down and they were alone, Kai Ren asked, Did you mean it? About your place being here? Why wouldn't I? Because Tan's right. You're good at this. Better than managing a single ranch. You could do something bigger. Lin Yue turned to face him fully. I could, but I don't want to. This ranch, these people, you, this is enough. More than enough. It's everything. He pulled her close. I worry sometimes that you'll regret giving up the opportunities you could have had. I gave up opportunities I never wanted in the first place. What I have now? This is what I choose every day. The kiss he gave her was answer enough, but peace, Lin Yu was learning, was always temporary. The first sign of trouble came in late autumn. One of the northern merchant caravans arrived 3 days late, missing half its goods. The drivers were shaken, reporting an attack by bandits on the northern pass. Bandits again? Wei said at the emergency meeting. Thought we dealt with that problem. Lord Ju's in prison, Old Chen pointed out. These are different bandits, or just regular bandits, not political ones. Either way, it's a problem, Lin Yue said. If the northern route becomes too dangerous, merchants will stop using it. We're back where we started. They discussed solutions. More guards on the caravans, different routes, coordination with other ranches. But 2 weeks later, another attack. Then another. Something's wrong, Lin Yue said, staring at the map in the office. This isn't random banditry. Look at the pattern. They're targeting our caravans specifically. They know our schedules. Kairen leaned over the map. You think someone's feeding them information? Has to be. Otherwise, how do they know exactly when to strike and where? The possibility of a traitor within the ranch sent ripples of paranoia through everyone. People eyed each other suspiciously. Trust, so hard won, began to fray. Lin Yue hated it. Hated seeing the community they'd built start to tear itself apart from the inside. We need to flush out whoever it is, she told Kairen one night, before this destroys everything. How? She thought about it, an idea forming. We set a trap, send out false information about a valuable shipment, see who takes the bait. That's risky. Everything we've done has been risky. They planned carefully. Only 5 people knew the real plan. Lin Yue, Kairen, Wei, Old Chen, and Li Hua. Everyone else was told about a valuable shipment of silk and spices heading north in 3 days. If the bandits attacked, they'd know they had a leak. The shipment left on schedule, but with guards hidden in the wagons and more following at a distance. Lin Yu rode with the forward group, despite Kairen's protests. We've been through this, she'd said. I'm not staying behind while others take the risk. I know, doesn't mean I like it. They reached the expected ambush point, a narrow canyon about halfway to the northern trading post. The wagons slowed, everyone tense and ready. Nothing happened. They continued through the canyon without incident. Lin Yu started to wonder if maybe she'd been wrong. Maybe there wasn't a traitor. Maybe the attack came from behind, where they weren't expecting it. Riders emerged from concealment and hit the rear guard hard. Lin Yue heard the clash of weapons, shouting, her horse wheeling nervously. But the hidden guards were already responding, pouring out of the wagons. The bandits found themselves surrounded instead of surrounding. The fight was short and brutal. When it ended, 3 bandits were dead, 5 captured, and the rest had fled. One of the captured men, faced with the alternative of being turned over to the magistrate, agreed to talk. There's a woman, he said. She gives us the information, tells us when the valuable shipments are coming, what routes they'll take. What woman? Kairen demanded. Don't know her name. We meet at night. She's always covered, but she pays well. Lin Yue felt her stomach drop. A woman. That narrowed it down, but not enough. Back at the ranch, they gathered all the women who had access to shipping schedules. It wasn't many. Lin Yue, Li Hua, Auntie Feng, Ming, and Jun. Lin Yue looked at each face, trying to see deception. These were women she'd worked beside, eaten with, trusted. One of them was a traitor. We know there's a leak, Kairen said bluntly. Someone here has been giving information to bandits. The attacks stop now, or I bring in the magistrate and we do this the hard way. Silence. Then Auntie Feng spoke up. Check our rooms, our belongings. If there's evidence, you'll find it. It was Ming who started crying first. Then, before anyone could stop her, she ran. Wei and Old Chen caught her before she made it to the horses. She fought them, screaming, until she finally collapsed in tears. He said he'd kill my son, she sobbed. My boy is working in the city. He said if I didn't help, he'd kill him. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Lin Yue felt rage and pity war inside her. Who? Who threatened you? Lord Ju's nephew. He came to me 2 months ago with proof he knew where my son worked, where he lived. Said I had to help or... She couldn't finish. Why didn't you tell us? Li Hua's voice was thick with hurt. We would have helped. I was afraid. And then it seemed too late. I'd already betrayed you. How could I come back from that? Kairen's face was granite. You endangered everyone on this ranch. People died because of information you provided. I know. Ming looked up, her face ravaged. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. Just, please, don't let them hurt my son. He doesn't know anything about this. Lin Yue stepped forward. Where is he exactly? Your son? Ming gave them the address through tears. Wei, Lin Yue said. Take 3 men. Go to the city. Find Ming's son and bring him here. If Ju's nephew tries to stop you, you have my permission to be persuasive about why that's a bad idea. On it. Wei left immediately. Lin Yu turned to Kai Ren. Can we get word to the magistrate about the nephew? He needs to be arrested. I'll send a rider tonight. That left the question of Ming. The woman sat on the ground, no longer fighting, just waiting for judgment. You put everyone here at risk, Kai Ren said quietly. By rights, I should turn you over to the magistrate too. I know, but I also know what it's like to be trapped between bad choices. He looked at Lin Yue, then back at Ming. You'll work off your debt. Double shifts until we recoup the losses your betrayal caused. Your wages go to the families of anyone hurt because of information you leaked. And you don't leave this ranch without escort until we're sure the threat to your son is neutralized. Ming looked up, shocked. You're letting me stay? We're giving you a chance to make this right, Lin Yu said. Don't waste it. Not everyone agreed with the decision. There were arguments in the dining hall that night, raised voices demanding harsher punishment. She's a traitor, someone shouted. You can't just forgive that. We're not forgiving it, Kai Ren said firmly. We're dealing with it. There's a difference. What kind of message does this send? That we're soft? That we can be manipulated? It sends the message that we take care of our own even when they mess up. Kai Ren's voice carried authority. Ming made a terrible choice, but she made it because her son was threatened. That's something I can understand. So anyone with a good enough excuse can betray us? No. Lin Yue stood up. But we can recognize that people are complicated, that sometimes good people make bad choices when they're scared. We can demand accountability without destroying someone completely. The arguments continued, but eventually people settled. Some grudgingly, some more readily. Ming kept her head down, worked her double shifts without complaint, and slowly, very slowly, began to earn back a fraction of trust. Wei returned 5 days later with Ming's son, a scared young man who had no idea his mother had been protecting him. The magistrate sent word that Ju's nephew had been arrested trying to flee the province. The immediate crisis was over, but it left scars. The ranch felt different now, more cautious, less open. We've lost something, Lihua said to Lin Yu one evening, that feeling we had before, where we trusted each other completely. Maybe we were naive to trust completely, Lin Yu said. Maybe. But it was nice while it lasted. Winter came early and hard that year. Snow piled up faster than they could clear it. The temperature dropped until even the river started to freeze at the edges. Lin Yu had never experienced cold like this. In the city, winter meant staying inside by warm fires with servants bringing hot tea. Here, winter meant work, constant back-breaking work just to keep everyone alive and fed. Pipes froze and had to be thawed. Animals needed extra care. Wood had to be chopped constantly to feed the fires. Every day was a battle against the cold. And then the storage barn caught fire. Lin Yu was in bed when the alarm sounded, bells ringing frantically in the night. She and Kai Ren were dressed and running before they were fully awake. The barn was already fully engulfed when they arrived, flames leaping into the dark sky. People were forming bucket lines, but it was clear they couldn't save the structure. The best they could hope for was to keep the fire from spreading. The grain, Old Chen said hoarsely, appearing at Kai Ren's elbow. 3 months of grain storage. Gone. Lin Yu felt the words like a punch. 3 months of grain, in the middle of winter, with no way to replace it until spring. They fought the fire until dawn, exhausted and soot-stained. The barn was a total loss. Worse, the heat had damaged the neighboring storage buildings. More supplies ruined. As the sun rose over the blackened ruins, Kai Ren gathered everyone. We're in trouble, he said bluntly. We've lost most of our winter stores. What we have left won't last until spring, not for everyone. Silence. Then Auntie Feng spoke up. We ration, cut everyone's portions, make it last. That'll buy us maybe 6 weeks, Lin Yue said. She'd already done the math in her head. We need another solution. We could buy grain from the city, Wei suggested. With what money? The trading post is new. We don't have reserves built up yet. Kai Ren rubbed his face. I can sell some of the breeding stock, but that'll hurt us long term. What about the northern merchants? Lihua asked. Could we get credit? Promise payment in spring? Lin Yu thought about it. Maybe. But it's a risk for them. Why would they, Because we've proven we're reliable, June interrupted. Everyone turned to look at her. She rarely spoke in meetings. You've built relationships, trust. That has to be worth something. She was right. They'd spent months building goodwill, proving their reliability. Maybe it was time to leverage that. I'll go, Lin Yu said. I'll ride north, talk to Merchant Tan and the others, see if we can work something out. In this weather? Kai Ren shook his head. It's too dangerous. More dangerous than starving? They stared at each other. Lin Yu saw the fear in his eyes, but also the understanding that she was right. I'm going with you, he said finally. The ranch needs you here. The ranch needs both of us here. But if you're going, I'm going. His tone left no room for argument. They left the next morning, Lin Yue, Kai Ren, and Wei. 3 riders in a snowstorm, carrying the ranch's future in their saddlebags in the form of contracts and promises. The journey that usually took 2 days took 4. The cold was savage, the wind cutting through every layer of clothing. Twice they had to take shelter and wait out storms. Lin Yue's fingers went numb inside her gloves. Her face felt frozen. But they pushed forward. Merchant Tan's trading compound was like paradise after days in the cold. Warm fires, hot food, actual walls keeping out the wind. You rode through that storm? Tan said incredulously. Are you insane? Probably, Lin Yu admitted. But we're all so desperate. She laid out the situation honestly. The fire, the lost stores, their need for credit. Showed Tan their records, proved they were good for the debt. Tan studied the numbers, her face unreadable. Finally, she looked up. This is a lot of grain. You're asking me to risk a significant amount of capital on a promise. I know. If you can't pay in spring, I'm out of fortune. We'll pay. Whatever it takes. Tan drummed her fingers on the table. Why should I believe that? Lin Yue met her eyes. Because in the 8 months we've been working together, have we ever failed to meet an obligation? Have we ever given you reason to doubt our word? No, Tan admitted. You haven't. Then trust that we won't start now. Tan smiled slowly. You've got nerve. I'll give you that. She pulled out a contract. All right, I'll front you the grain, payment due by summer harvest, with 10% interest. 10%, that's my risk premium for winter credit. Take it or leave it. It was steep, but they had no choice. Lin Yu took it. They loaded the grain onto wagons Tan provided and started back. The return journey was slower, the wagons heavy and the horses tired, but the weather held just enough for them to make steady progress. When they crested the ridge overlooking the ranch 4 days later, people came pouring out to meet them. Not to welcome them home, though there was that, but to unload the grain and get it under cover before the next storm hit. That night, with the grain safely stored and everyone fed, Lin Yu collapsed into bed, fully clothed. We made it, she mumbled into the pillow. Barely, Kai Ren said, pulling off her boots for her. That was too close. Everything we do is too close. He lay down beside her, both of them too tired to undress properly. You know what I realized on that trip? What? You're the strongest person I know, not just physically. You've got this core of steel. Nothing breaks you. Lin Yu turned to look at him. I feel like I'm breaking all the time. But you don't. You bend. You adapt. You keep going. He touched her face gently. I love that about you. I love you too, even though you're crazy enough to ride through blizzards with me, especially because of that. They fell asleep like that, holding each other, too exhausted for anything else but grateful to be home and alive and together. The winter continued to test them in smaller ways. Sickness swept through, taking 2 of the elderly and 1 child despite Auntie Feng's best efforts with herbs and poultices. Wolves got into the chicken coop old Chen had built, killing half the flock. A section of roof collapsed under heavy snow. But they survived, adapted, kept going. By the time spring finally arrived, melting the snow and bringing the first green shoots, the ranch had transformed again. Harder, leaner, more resilient. Lin Yu stood in the muddy yard watching the thaw, thinking about everything they'd endured. The battles, the betrayals, the fire, the winter. Each crisis had felt impossible while they were in it, but they'd made it through. All of them. Kay-Ren joined her, handing her a cup of tea. Thinking about how much has changed, how much we've changed. Regrets? She considered the question seriously. A year ago, she would have said yes, would have mourned the easier life she'd left behind, even if it had been suffocating. Now? No, she said. No regrets. He smiled and pulled her close. Below them, the ranch was coming back to life. People emerging from winter quarters, assessing damage, planning repairs. The cycle continuing. And Lin Yu realized something. She wasn't just surviving anymore. Somewhere along the way, without noticing exactly when, she'd started thriving. This was her life now, her choice, her home, and she'd defend it with everything she had. Spring turned into summer, and with it came a visitor Lin Yu hadn't expected. She was in the trading post reviewing inventory with young Zhao when one of the children came running in, breathless. "Lady Lin, there's someone at the main house asking for you, a woman from the city." Lin Yu's first thought was her mother. Her stomach tightened reflexively, old patterns of anxiety rising before she could push them down. Did she give a name? May. She said her name is May. Lin Yu's hands went still on the ledger. Her sister. After more than a year of silence, May had come. She found her in the courtyard, looking out of place in her silk dress and embroidered shoes. May had always been the beautiful one, the perfect daughter. But now there was something different about her, a tightness around her eyes, a weariness in her posture. "Lin Yue," May said, turning. Her voice was uncertain. "May." Lin Yue didn't move to embrace her, didn't know if she should. "This is unexpected. I know, I should have written first, but May's composure cracked slightly. "Can we talk? Privately?" They went to Lin Yu's room. May looked around at the simple furnishings, the worn but comfortable space, and something in her expression shifted. "This is where you live?" "This is home," Lin Yu corrected. May sat on the edge of the bed, hands twisting in her lap. "I owe you an apology. Several, actually." Lin Yu leaned against the window frame, arms crossed. "I'm listening. I was terrible to you. My whole life, I let mother and father treat you like you were less than me. I never spoke up, never defended you, and when you left," May's voice broke. "I was relieved. I thought it would be easier with you gone." "Was it?" "No." May laughed bitterly. "It was worse. Without you there, I became the disappointing daughter. Suddenly, nothing I did was good enough. Every small mistake was magnified. I finally understood what you'd been living with all those years." Lin Yu felt something complicated twist in her chest. Not quite sympathy, but close. "Why are you here, May?" "Because I'm getting married in 2 months, and I realized I didn't want to do it without you there." May looked up, and her eyes were wet. "You're my sister, the only sister I'll ever have, and I've been a terrible one." "Yes," Lin Yu said simply. "You have been." May flinched, but nodded. "I know. I don't expect you to forgive me. I wanted you to know that I see it now. What they did to you, what I let them do, and I'm sorry." Lin Yu studied her sister, this woman who'd had everything handed to her, who was only now learning that being the favorite daughter came with its own cage. "Who are you marrying?" she asked. "A merchant's son. Nice enough." Mother approved immediately, which should have been a warning. May smiled weakly. "But I don't have your courage. I can't just walk away." "It's not courage. It's desperation dressed up as bravery." "Maybe. But you did it. You built a life for yourself." May gestured around the room. "A real life, from what I can see. Are you happy?" Lin Yu thought about. Happiness seemed like too simple a word for what she felt. The satisfaction of hard work, the security of genuine belonging, the love she'd found with Kay-Ren. It was complicated and messy and absolutely real. "Most days, yes," she said honestly. "It's hard here, really hard, but it's mine in a way nothing ever was in the city. I envy that." May stood. "I won't ask you to come to the wedding. I know that's too much, but I wanted to see you, to tell you I'm sorry, and that I hope someday you might be willing to know me again, the real me, not the perfect daughter act." Lin Yu felt her defenses wavering. She'd spent so long being angry at May, at her whole family, But anger was exhausting, and May standing there, finally honest, finally seeing her, it meant something. "Stay for dinner," Lin Yue said. "Meet my husband. See what my life actually looks like. Then we'll talk about the rest." Relief flooded May's face. "Really?" "Really. But I'm warning you, it's not fancy. And people will ask you direct questions. No polite deflection allowed here." "I think I can handle that." Dinner that night was entertaining. May sat between Liwa and old Chen, looking progressively more shocked as the conversation flowed around her. Loud, argumentative, completely without the formal structure she was used to. "So you're the sister," Lihua said, not unkindly. "Lin Yu has mentioned you maybe twice." "That sounds about right," May said. "I wasn't a very good sister." "Well, you're here now. That's something." Lihua passed her the rice. "Fair warning, if you hurt her again, we'll have words. Possibly with farm implements involved." May looked at Lin Yue, who shrugged. "She's not joking." "Noted," May said faintly. But as the evening went on, something unexpected happened. May relaxed, started asking genuine questions about the ranch, about the trading post, about how they'd survived the winter, and people, seeing her real interest, opened up. By the time Kai Ren arrived, late, as usual from dealing with some crisis in the North Pasture, May was laughing at one of Wei's terrible jokes and helping clear plates. Kai Ren stopped in the doorway, taking in the scene. Lin Yue went to him. "That's my sister," she said quietly. "I figured she looks like you would have if you'd stayed in the city." "Is that good or bad?" "Neither, just different." He studied May. "She staying?" "Just tonight. Maybe we could give her the guest room." "Of course." He looked down at Lin Yue. "You doing okay with this?" Surprisingly, yes. That night, after May had gone to bed, Lin Yue found Kai Ren on the porch. She settled beside him, their shoulders touching. "Strange day," she said. "Good strange or bad strange?" "I don't know yet." She apologized, really apologized, not the polite kind where you say the words but don't mean them. "You believe her?" Lin Yue thought about it. "Yeah, I think I do." She looked smaller somehow, like she'd been carrying something heavy and finally set it down. "Are you going to the wedding?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to refuse, to make her feel what it was like to be excluded, but that's just spite talking." "Spite has its place," Kai Ren said mildly. "Does it?" "Sometimes. Keeps you from being a doormat." He took her hand. "But you're not a doormat anymore. You're someone who can choose to be generous because you're strong enough to afford it." Lin Yu leaned her head on his shoulder. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm not wise. I just know you. And I know you'll regret it if you let old anger make this decision for you." He was right. She would regret it. The next morning, Lin Yue told May she'd come to the wedding. May's face transformed with such pure joy that Lin Yue felt something in her own chest loosen. "Thank you," May said, grabbing her hands. "Thank you. I know I don't deserve—" "Stop. We're not going to do that. What's done is done. We move forward from here." May nodded, blinking back tears. Before she left, May paused at her horse. "You know what the strangest part is? I came here expecting to find you miserable, living in poverty, regretting your choices. Instead, I find you stronger than anyone I've ever met, surrounded by people who actually see you." "It's not what I expected either," Lin Yue admitted. "Mother asks about you sometimes, wonders if you're all right." "And what do you tell her?" "I didn't know before. Now I'll tell her the truth, that you're more than all right. You're thriving." May mounted her horse. "That's going to bother her more than anything." Lin Yu smiled. "Good." As May rode away, Li Hua came to stand beside Lin Yue. "That went better than expected." "You were listening?" "This is a ranch, not a palace." Everyone was listening. Li Hua bumped her shoulder. "You made the right call. Being the bigger person and all that." "I'm not being the bigger person. I'm just tired of carrying anger around. It's heavy." "Smart and wise. Kai Ren got lucky with you. I got lucky with him." "You both got lucky with each other. Now stop being sappy and help me with the fence in the East Pasture. Something's been getting through at night." The something turned out to be a family of wild pigs that had discovered the vegetable garden. It took 3 days and a lot of cursing to relocate them to the other side of the mountain without actually harming them. "Could have just killed them," Wei pointed out. "Would have been easier." And waste the opportunity to chase angry pigs through the woods at midnight? Lin Yu said. Where's the fun in that? Summer brought its own rhythm. Long days of work, warm evenings, the satisfaction of watching things grow. The trading post was doing better than expected, attracting merchants from regions they'd never dealt with before. Young Zhao was proving himself capable, only needing Lin Yue's input on the biggest decisions. One afternoon in late summer, Lin Yue was working in the garden when she felt it. A wave of nausea so sudden and powerful she had to sit down hard in the dirt. Auntie Feng found her there a few minutes later, pale and shaking. "How late are you?" the old woman asked without preamble. "What?" "Your monthly cycle. How late?" Lin Yue counted back and felt her stomach drop for an entirely different reason. 6 weeks. Maybe 7. "Thought so. You've had that look for days." Auntie Feng helped her up. "Come on, let's confirm it before you tell Kai Ren." The confirmation came quickly enough. All the signs were there. Lin Yue was pregnant. She sat in Auntie Feng's workroom, trying to process it. A baby. She was going to have a baby. "You don't look happy," Auntie Feng observed. "I'm terrified," Lin Yue admitted. "What if I'm terrible at this? What if I turn into my mother?" "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because you're asking the question. Your mother never questioned herself. She knew she was right about everything, and that made her blind." Auntie Feng poured tea with steady hands. "You doubt yourself. That means you'll pay attention. You'll adjust. You'll do better." "I don't know how to be a mother." "Nobody does. You figure it out as you go, same as everything else on this ranch," Lin Yue told Kai Ren that night. He was cleaning tack in the barn, methodical and focused. She watched him for a moment before speaking. "I'm pregnant." His hand stilled on the leather. He looked up at her, expression unreadable. "You're sure?" Auntie Feng confirmed it this afternoon. He set down the tack carefully, stood and crossed to her. Then he pulled her into his arms and held her so tight she could barely breathe. "Kai Ren, I'm happy," he said, his voice rough. In case that wasn't clear. "I'm really happy." She felt tension she didn't know she'd been holding release. "You are?" "Are you?" Terrified, but yes, happy too. He pulled back to look at her face. "We'll figure it out, same as everything else." That's what Auntie Feng said. Auntie Feng is usually right. He touched her stomach gently, reverently. "A baby. We're having a baby." The news spread through the ranch like wildfire. People congratulated them, offered advice, started knitting tiny clothes. Lin Yu found herself surrounded by a support system she hadn't even known she needed. The pregnancy was not easy. Lin Yu was sick for months, exhausted constantly, her body doing things she didn't understand and couldn't control. But she kept working, modified, at Kai Ren's insistence, but working nonetheless. "You can rest," he said for the 100th time. "I'll rest when I'm dead." That's not funny. Wasn't trying to be funny. I'm trying to not lose my mind from boredom. May's wedding came in early autumn. Lin Yu traveled to the city with Kai Ren, her pregnancy just starting to show. Walking into her family's house felt surreal, like visiting a museum of her former life. Her mother cried when she saw her. Actual tears. "Lin Yue, you look..." Her mother's voice trailed off as she took in the sun-weathered skin, the capable hands, the obvious pregnancy. "Different." "I am different." "I can see that." Her mother's eyes went to Kai Ren. "Thank you for taking care of my daughter." "She takes care of herself," Kai Ren said evenly. "I just try to keep up." The wedding was elaborate and suffocating in equal measure. Lin Yu watched May go through the motions, smiling, bowing, saying the right words, and saw herself as she might have been. Trapped in politeness, performing for approval, never quite real. But when May caught her eye across the courtyard, there was something there. A moment of connection, of understanding. May knew what she was choosing. Maybe it was the right choice for her. People found their own ways to survive. Lin Yu's father approached her near the end of the celebration. He looked older, diminished somehow. "You're pregnant," he said. "Yes." "Congratulations." "Thank you." They stood in awkward silence. Finally, her father spoke again. "I was wrong about you, about sending you away like that. I thought I was solving a problem, but I was just too proud to see what I actually had." Lin Yu looked at him, This man who'd shaped so much of her pain, her self-doubt, her desperate need to prove herself. "I forgive you," she said, and realized she meant it. Not because he deserved it, but because she deserved to be free of it. "But I don't need your approval anymore. I stopped needing it the day I left." Her father's face worked. "I understand." "Do you?" "I'm trying to." He paused. "Your mother and we've had time to reflect, to see what we lost by pushing you away. I won't ask you to come back, to be part of this life again. But I hope you'll let us know the child, our grandchild." Lin Yue thought about it, about cycles of pain and redemption, about choosing to be better than what came before. "Maybe," she said, "if you can accept who I am now, not who you wanted me to be. I think I can do that. We'll see." They left the city the next day. As they rode away, Lin Yue felt lighter. She'd faced her past, forgiven what needed forgiving, and left the rest behind. "How do you feel?" Kai Ren asked. "Free," she said. "Finally free." Winter came again, but this time they were prepared. Full stores, reinforced buildings, enough fuel to keep everyone warm. The pregnancy progressed despite Lin Yu's complaints about being large and uncomfortable and unable to see her own feet. "You're beautiful," Kai Ren insisted. "I'm a whale. A beautiful whale." That doesn't help. The baby came on a cold February morning just as the sun was rising. Lin Yu labored through the night with Auntie Feng and 2 other women attending. Kai Ren paced outside until Wei finally dragged him to the barn to do something useful with his nervous energy. When the baby finally arrived, a girl with a strong cry and thick dark hair, Lin Yu held her and felt the world reorganize itself around this tiny person. "She's perfect," Auntie Feng said, cleaning the baby gently. "She's ours," Lin Yu said, and started crying. Kai Ren was brought in, moving like he was afraid to breathe wrong. He looked at his daughter with such raw wonder that Lin Yu fell in love with him all over again. "What should we name her?" he asked. They discussed names for months without deciding. But looking at her now, Lin Yu knew. "Xin," she said. "New beginning." "Shin," Kai Ren repeated, touching the baby's tiny hand. "It's perfect." The ranch celebrated the birth with the same enthusiasm they'd celebrated victories and harvests. People brought gifts, carved toys, woven blankets, promises of future babysitting. Shin was welcomed not just as Kai Ren and Lin Yu's daughter, but as the ranch's child. Motherhood was nothing like Lin Yu expected. It was harder, the sleepless nights, the constant worry, the way her heart now walked around outside her body. But it was also better. Watching Shin grow, seeing her discover the world, teaching her things. It gave Lin Yu a purpose she'd never imagined. "She has your stubbornness," Kai Ren observed one afternoon, watching Shin refuse to give up on climbing onto a chair despite falling off repeatedly. "And your quiet determination," Lin Yu countered. "Poor kid, she's doomed." But Shin thrived. She grew up running through the ranch, learning from everyone, absorbing the lessons of community and hard work and honesty. By the time she was 3, she could ride a horse with Li Hua's help and was learning her numbers from old Chen. "She's smart," Auntie Feng said proudly, as if Shin were her own grandchild. "Takes after her mother." Lin Yu watched her daughter, this fierce, curious, stubborn little person, and made a silent promise. Shin would never feel like she needed to be someone else to be loved. She would know her worth from the beginning. The years passed in a rhythm of seasons and work and growth. The ranch expanded, adding more buildings, more workers, more partnerships with northern merchants. The trading post became a hub for the entire region. Young Zhao eventually married Jun, who'd finally stopped looking over her shoulder for her past to catch up with her. Lin Yu's role evolved too. She was still involved in the accounts and trade negotiations, but she also became the person people came to with disputes, with questions, with ideas. She'd earned respect not through her marriage to Kai Ren, but through her own actions, her own choices. One spring afternoon, 5 years after Xin's birth, Merchant Tan visited with a proposal. "The Northern Consortium wants to formalize our partnership," she said, laying out papers. "Make you an official trade representative. It would mean more responsibility, higher stakes, but also significant profit." Lin Yu studied the contract. It was everything she might have wanted once: power, influence, recognition beyond the ranch. "Can I think about it?" she asked. Of course. Take your time. That evening, Lin Yue discussed it with Kai Ren. They sat on the porch, watching Shin play in the yard with the other children, her laughter carrying on the wind. What do you want to do? Kai Ren asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to say yes, prove I can do it. You already know you can do it. The question is whether you want to. Lin Yu thought about what accepting would mean: more travel, more time away from the ranch, from Shin, from this life she'd built. More prestige, yes. More money, more everything, except more of what actually mattered. I'm going to say no, she said slowly, the decision settling as she spoke. Not because I can't do it, but because I don't need to. You're sure? I spent my whole life trying to prove I was enough. Good enough, smart enough, valuable enough. But I don't need to prove anything anymore. I already know what I'm worth. She looked at him. This life, right here, it's enough, more than enough. Kei-ren kissed her temple. You've come a long way from the woman who stood outside that door listening to her family celebrate her departure. That feels like a different lifetime. It was. You're someone completely different now. Lin Yue thought about that. Was she different? Or had she just finally become who she was always meant to be? She declined Merchant Tan's offer, but negotiated a smaller role that kept her involved without consuming her life. It was a compromise she could live with. More years passed. Shin grew into a confident girl who asked too many questions and never accepted "because I said so" as an answer. Lin Yue saw herself in that stubbornness and loved her daughter fiercely for it. Old Chen died peacefully in his sleep at 78. The ranch mourned him but celebrated his life, a man who'd been honest, hardworking, and kind. His chickens were inherited by his nephew, who swore to maintain their morale-boosting duties. Auntie Feng slowed down but refused to stop working. I'll rest when I'm dead, she said, echoing Lin Yue's own words from years ago. The ranch became something solid, permanent. New children were born. New workers arrived and stayed. The community deepened. One evening, when Shin was 8, she asked Lin Yue about her family in the city. Grandmother came to visit last month, Shin said. She's very fancy. Yes, she is. But she seemed sad. Why is she sad? Lin Yue thought about how to answer. Her mother visited occasionally now, always correct, always polite, always carrying an air of regret she never quite named. Sometimes people realize too late what they had, Lin Yue said carefully. Your grandmother loved me, I think, but she loved the idea of who I should be more than who I actually was. By the time she figured out the difference, I was already gone. That's sad. Yes. But it's also okay. I found my own way, and now I have you and your father and this whole ranch of people who love us exactly as we are. Shin thought about that. I'm glad you came here, even if it was sad at first. Me too, little one. Me too. 10 years after Lin Yu first arrived at the ranch, Merchant Tan visited with news. Lord Ju died in prison, she said without preamble. Heart failure. His nephew tried to resurrect the family business, but it collapsed. The water rights case is officially closed. Lin Yue felt nothing at the news. Ju had been a threat once, a monster in their story. But he'd become irrelevant long before his death. Thank you for telling me, she said. There's something else. Tan looked almost amused. Your father's business recovered. Apparently he changed his approach after your sister got married, started being more honest, more fair. He's writing a letter to you, asked me to deliver it. Lin Yue took the letter, feeling its weight. She didn't open it immediately. Some things could wait. Later, alone in the office, she broke the seal. Her father's handwriting, still precise but shakier with age. The letter was surprisingly honest. He wrote about his regrets, about watching her build a successful life without him, about the lessons he'd learned too late. He didn't ask for forgiveness or reconciliation, just acknowledged the truth of what had happened and who he'd been. At the end, he wrote, You were never the difficult daughter, you were the brave one. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. Lin Yu folded the letter and put it away. She might write back eventually, or she might not. The choice was hers, and that was power enough. More seasons turned. Shin grew into a young woman with her mother's directness and her father's steady strength. She had no interest in being perfect or pleasing anyone. She just wanted to be herself, and that was exactly what Lin Yue had hoped for. On a warm summer evening, when Shin was 15, they sat together on the porch, 3 generations now, as Shin cradled her own baby cousin, Wei and Jun's new daughter. "Tell me the story," Shin said, "about how you came here." Lin Yue had told this story before, but Shin never tired of hearing it. "I was 27, Lin Yue began, and I didn't fit anywhere. My family wanted me to be someone I wasn't, and I was tired of trying. So grandfather sent you away." "He did. Married me off to a stranger because it was convenient, and I let him because I saw a chance to escape." "Were you scared?" "Terrified. I had no idea what I was coming to. Could have been worse than what I left. But it wasn't. No, it was harder in different ways, but it was real, and it was mine." Lin Yue looked at her daughter. "That's the important part. Not that it was easy or perfect, but that I chose it. Every day I chose this life. That made all the difference." Sin was quiet for a moment. Then, "I'm glad you chose it. Otherwise I wouldn't be here." "Best choice I ever made," Lin Yue said, meaning it absolutely. Kairen came out to join them, settling beside Lin Yue with the comfortable ease of 20 years together. He'd grayed at the temples, and there were lines around his eyes from squinting into the sun, but he was still the same man who'd stood beside her through everything. "What are we talking about?" he asked. "Mother's story. About coming here." "Ah, the one where she saved us all from Lord Ju single-handedly. I did not, and learned to ride a horse without falling off. That took months, and became the most terrifying negotiator in the Northern Territories." Lin Yue shoved him gently. "You're impossible. You love me anyway." "Unfortunately." They smiled at each other, and Shin watched them with the particular expression teenagers got when their parents were being embarrassing and sweet in equal measure. "You two are gross," she said, but she was smiling too. As the sun set over the valley, painting everything gold and amber, Lin Yue felt something she'd spent years learning to recognize: contentment. Not happiness exactly. Happiness was too simple for the complexity of real life. But contentment. Satisfaction. The deep knowledge that she was exactly where she was meant to be. She thought about the woman she'd been, standing outside that door listening to her family celebrate her departure. That woman had been so lost, so desperate, so afraid. If she could go back and tell her younger self anything, what would it be? That the fear was worth it, that the hard choices would forge her into someone stronger, that being difficult wasn't a flaw but a strength, that the people who couldn't love her as she was didn't deserve her love in return, that sometimes the life you're pushed into against your will becomes the life you choose over everything else. "What are you thinking?" Kairen asked quietly. "That I won," Lin Yue said. "Not in the way anyone expected, but I won." He squeezed her hand. "You did." And sitting there with her family, on land she'd fought for, surrounded by a community she'd helped build, Lin Yue knew it was true. She hadn't just escaped her fate. She'd rewritten it completely, turned rejection into opportunity, hardship into strength, exile into home. The woman her family had cast aside had become the foundation of something they could never touch or diminish. She'd built a life of purpose and belonging. She'd raised a daughter who knew her own worth. She'd created something that would outlast all the pretty lies and social performances of the world she'd left behind. She'd won, not because everything was perfect. It wasn't. There were still hard days, still struggles, still moments of doubt, but those were part of the texture of a real life, honestly lived. And as the stars began to appear above the valley, as Shin's laughter rang out at something June said, as Kairen's hand held steady in hers, Lin Yue thought about the journey that had brought her here. Every step had been necessary. Every hardship had taught her something. Every choice had made her stronger. She wouldn't change a thing. Because in the end, Lin Yue had learned the most important lesson of all. Your worth isn't determined by the people who reject you. It's determined by what you build after they let you go. And what she'd built was magnificent.